Iain Valliere, Olympian, 6-time IFBB pro champ, and most importantly, Chris Bumstead's brother-in-law.
My appetite and my quality of digestion improved tenfold within 2 days. It's more so things I'm not including. I'm eating zero poultry.
Why is that?
Even at my biggest, when I was doing 1,500, 2,000 milligrams of shit in the off season, I still would never use AIs. Which sounds crazy.
Nipple piercings.
I fucking killed the gland with all those fucking nipple piercings. And already I'm probably training 30% higher volume than I was even at my peak years. I left my HCG in California by accident. Then I did blood work with Merrick in Vegas at the end of my trip. And just in that 8 days, my test levels went from 840 nanograms and I was at 99. It was literally just like, I was doing the higher Winstrol injectable and oral and ate only white fish. And when I say only white fish, I mean only white fish. Literally zero carbohydrates, zero. No vegetables, no carbs of any kind.
Maintaining/regaining fertility on PEDs. What's up, bro homies? So the new transparent shirt is finally out, and I just wanted to thank you guys so much because, to be honest, I don't know if I've expressed my thanks enough to you guys, but this podcast has probably been the most meaningful thing that I think I've ever created, I've ever really delved my time into, and I just wanted to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity because I really would not be here if it wasn't for all of y'all. And as cliche as it may all sound, the power to be able to have a voice and discuss these issues that we have all dealt with has been something that I think I felt a lot of fulfillment through because of just how much we've been able to connect with each other. So we finally have the shirt, the hoodie, and the pants all on this site. Basically, and the site is acons, AYKONS.com/collections/transparent. And 3 pieces there for you to get. So we try to make it as cheap as reasonably possible because the company that we work with does upcharge quite a bit extra for the base price for shipping and handling and packaging. And this is all everything that we kind of needed to have implemented because, to be honest with y'all, I have never dealt with clothes before, never dealt with any of this crap before, so I have no absolute clue what I'm doing. But basically, because of the prices, I felt bad that the shipping was expensive, so I have a code Nile for you guys to use to get 10% off of everything that you're buying. So hopefully that kind of helps compensate just a little bit. But because of this, not having enough product is going to be an issue, and they'll be able to send out your product to you within 2 days, and then the shipping should be about 7 to 12 days, at least as according to the site. So maximum, you'll get your thing in 2 weeks. If you guys need anything, please feel free to reach out. I'll be here. I'll answer your questions. DM, this is the community, so I'll be here the entire time. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys because I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you guys so much, and let's get this ball rolling. Keep training hard. Yo.
Hello. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Cool. It's the fucking comeback kid, bro. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll see.
How are you feeling?
Good, you?
I'm feeling pretty great, dude. Honestly. I also feel very free.
Yeah.
Head feels very free.
Yeah. How long ago did you do it? You're like a couple weeks now, right?
January 6th? No, December 6th.
I was like, January 6th. That was fucking yesterday.
Yeah, it's been about a month now.
You're in Turkey still. Yeah, about a month. Yeah.
Pretty fire, man. They're awesome.
Oh, they're good shit. Yeah.
To be honest, I saw yours and Dr. Dean's was like the final little like seal for me. I'm like, these hairs, bro.
Yeah, no, it fucking makes a difference, man. I mean, mine turned out good, so I'm definitely happy with them. And I've stayed like good friends with those people, like Malik and them are good shit. So I've definitely been happy with it. I mean, we even went back last year and just like went on fucking vacation to Turkey and like chilled with them,
Yeah, you were telling me you guys went like snowboarding and shit too, right?
No, I went dirt biking with Malik.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, he like brought me out. Like him and a couple of his boys have this like lodge out in kind of rural Turkey, and we went out there and just went like did a day of fucking dirt biking and shit. It was pretty sick.
Wait, so did you have to have like a translator while you guys were taking that?
One of the guys that rides with them spoke like okay English. They brought a translator with me to get there to the place so that I wasn't just like in the car with Malik with no English. Nice. And then the translator was with me there, but he didn't dirt bike. And then once we were at the dirt biking place, one of his buddies that was dirt biking actually went to school in the US. So his English was like pretty decent. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means, but it definitely well enough for us to like get our points across,
That's pretty dope. Dude, they treat you like fucking royalty out there, man.
Oh, they're the best, man.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
How did you, for the rest of your like recovery, did you end up having to, are you on minoxidil and finasteride right now?
I take minoxidil. I don't take finasteride.
Why not finasteride?
I don't know. Look, I took it for years. I took it before I did my hair transplant. I took it for 7-8 years, from like 2013 until 2021, 2022. And then I just honestly stopped it out of just pure curiosity of if it was holding back my physique in any way from blocking that DHT. And I'm like, I'd heard some people, like when I worked with Patrick, he didn't like me taking it.
What? Really?
Yeah, I don't think he was a big fan.
Sorry, Patrick.
Yeah. I remember him saying like, I wouldn't fucking take it, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of explained the reasoning. So I was like, you know what? I've taken it for so long. And like, you know, I've already lost a bit of hair. I'm going to fucking end up doing something about it anyways. So I'm like, I might as well just stop it and see. Look, I don't notice it. Like at that point I was already like placing at the Olympia. So like, how do I notice taking out Finasteride as being like, oh my God, all of a sudden my physique changed? No, obviously not, you know, like you're fighting for like millimeters at that point in your life. But I mean, there's fucking horror stories with Finasteride, man. It's such like a roll of the dice. Like, you know, I've talked to buddy, like I ran for 8 years. I don't think I had any side effects. If I did, they weren't like any that I would, you know, be super complained about. Like, but you know, I've had guys that have had like fucking, you know, post Finasteride syndrome and shit, and their mental health is all fucked up for years after. And, you know, like you can get some pretty bad horror stories. So I'm like, I rolled the dice with that once. I got lucky with it. I feel good now. I don't want to fuck with it. And you know what? Like I've got the contact with the Now Hair Time people. So I'm like, you know what? If I need to get 17 hair transplants over my life, I'll get fucking 17. You know what I mean? I'll just keep fucking doing it. And like, I'll pull it from my beard. I'll pull it from my back. I'll just keep slapping shit on my head until I, you know, so.
Oh yeah, no, I got a bunch of Arab homies that would be willing to
donate,
be little donors.
No, I mean, I'm going to go back at some point too, because my crown is still like not great. It's definitely better than it was, but that's an area that's harder to stick than obviously the hairline. Like the hairline, you have so much more blood flow to that area of the scalp versus back in the crown. So using the minoxidil has definitely helped more with the crown. But you know, it's the thing is like with the Finasteride and the hair transplant, I don't think it actually helps with the hair transplant in any way. It's really just to prevent further native loss of hair. Because like, say like this is all fucking transplanted hair, but this is still all real. So if like I lose this and I still have this,
back,
you end up like with fucking islands of hair, you know? So
for sure.
That's really just to like preserve the look that you've achieved now with the transplant and keep that as long as possible. So that's why obviously those are recommended. But the hair that they transplant is obviously going to be a bit more DHT resistant than your native hair. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. Like, I'm going to go back at some point anyways and do more in the crown. So, you know, if I'm going to fucking get on a bit of shit and lose some hair between now and then, I mean, now's the time to do it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a lot of people asking me like, why did I get your transplant so early? I'm like, dude, come on. Like if I start losing shit back here, then I can just do the little comb over, you know, like that my grandpa did. And you don't even see it. So it looks perfect to me. I was still, some of my homies even said that they were losing it in the crown. And I'm like, just pull a man bun, dude. No one will ever know.
How many grafts did you get?
They said 2,000 to 3,000, and then when they actually checked in person, they were like, "We can pull 5,000." I'm like, "Ooh."
So you did 5,000?
I did 5,000.
Yeah. Oh damn, yeah. You're gonna have a fucking serious head of hair, yeah. I think I did 4,000. Chris did 4,500, and one of our other buddies, one of the guys who's like the head sales guy at Raw, our international sales guy, he did like 5,500, and then he went back again last year when I went there to visit, and my mom's husband and a couple other people went and we went there a second time, and he did like another 4,000 or 5,000. So he's done like 10,000 now total. Yeah,
that's fucking sick.
But like he was like fucking bald on top, dude. Like he was one of those guys holding on with like a little bit of like a faux hockey wispy, you know. But like he's got like a fucking head of hair now. It's actually pretty impressive. Like he's got a fuckload of hair up there now. So it's been a big change, you know.
How was that anesthesia process though?
It fucking sucks for sure. Right?
That shit sucks,
dude. Those needles going in your head. I remember like I'm there. I'm fucking just like, oh my fuck, you know. At least it's quick, and then your head is like a fucking brick, like it's so numb. But man, when they shove those needles in, like I had people tell me before, you know, I'd had a couple of buddies that had it, and they warned me like, yo, bring some fucking Xanax or something. Like that part fucking sucks. And I'm like, y'all are fucking bitches. I'll be fine. You know, like you know, I completely underestimated how bad that was. And yeah, it's fucking rough for sure. Like they put some big ass needles in your fucking tight scalp skin.
Like thread
hurts,
it through your fucking skull, not to scare you guys.
Oh yeah, like they go in like horizontally and like shoot a bit, pull, shoot. And you're like, fuck. And then they do it at the front, and then you're like, okay, or they do it at the back for where they're taking out the donor hairs, and then you're like, all right, I'm done. Then 2 hours later, they're like, all right, now we got to do it in the fucking front to put the hair in. I'm like, oh god damn it,
Yeah, I know that was the worst part. I thought we were finished. I've like broken my leg, and that was not as bad as this.
No, it's rough, man. It's fucking, that's like definitely one of the worst pains. Like, the whole process is not that bad other than that like 3 minutes of fucking putting the anesthesia in your head or like the local anesthesia. And then obviously the itch, like, did you get some pretty bad itchiness after?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, literally straight torture.
Yeah.
Like brutal. I probably wasn't supposed to do this, but sometimes I couldn't help. Like I was like slapping my head.
Oh, I'd be fucking tapping that shit. I'd be like taking cold water and like running it on my head sometimes, like anything I could, but none of it does shit. It's like you're trying to like psychosomatically do something to help because you need to, but like none of it does anything. You just got to like ride out that 10 days of fucking until you wash the scabs off and shit. It's fucking brutal, man. Like that was definitely the most annoying part, other than the local anesthesia being painful. That itch is fucking next level, It's still itchy. Is it? Yeah.
It's still fucking itchy, dude. And I'm like a month in.
At least you can like wash it and put shit on it now to like somewhat give yourself some relief. But yeah, I mean, a big thing I use still is, if you haven't used it, is Nioxin shampoo and conditioner. That'll help a lot. It has like menthol in it, but it's like a hair loss shampoo and conditioner. It's like a big brand. And they make a bunch of different ones, but yeah, I use their shampoo and conditioner in there. That shit'll help a lot with like the fucking itch for sure.
Okay, nice. Dropping all the secrets, bro.
Yeah, I gotta say some of that and use the conditioner and like leave it in for a few minutes. And that definitely like will give some soothing, and the menthol like has this nice fucking burn that kind of like gets rid of that dryness, that itch. So it definitely helps out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I do consider myself having a decently high pain tolerance. Like, dude, the only thing that's ever hurt more than that though was straight up like, I don't know if I've told this story on air before. Like, I don't care, but I had these lip piercings done like, I don't know, 8 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, that sucked, but it was whatever. And then I went to EDC Vegas, like a dumbass, the day after, which obviously is so stupid because this is supposed to be healing properly, right? Without any toxicity, any like fucking And EDC is in the middle of fucking Vegas, the desert, out in the middle of nowhere, tons of fucking people doing tons of shit that we all know and we all love,
of course,
and it got infected and it started healing over my piercings. And then obviously 3 days later of EDC, the piercings healed inside of my skin. They disappeared. Literally like the studs were inside my lip and it was like, this
like under it. Healed. Fuck. So what'd you do? They had to like cut them out?
Yeah. I had to go back to the piercer. Didn't know about Xanax or ketamine at the time. Just raw, straight, no anesthetic. They had to fucking rip a hole in there, pop them fucking open, rip it out of my fucking lip, and then they put it back. That was great.
It's funny too, because probably my other most painful thing was also a piercing story too. When I was young, I used to be like all about getting fucking, cool piercings that other kids didn't have. And this was this was something people did have, but at the time, this was back in like
the little head, right? Little eggplant head.
No, this was yeah, no, didn't do that. This was back like when having really big gauged ears was the thing,
Oh yeah.
But like most people would do it over time where they stretch them, it's like you put in bigger gauges and stretch in bigger gauges. I'm like, no, I'm going to be cool. And I'm going to get them punched. So I got them pierced with like a 00 gauge needle.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It was like the size of my thumb,
Jesus,
dude.
fuck.
I got them pierced with a needle like that.
That
was the most, it was like the pain is one thing, but it's the amount of pressure to push out that much skin is like, it felt like the guy was trying to bench press 600 pounds to push my ears, like fucking like, like, because you're pushing out so much. It's like you need so much force to get that out. And I remember he did one and I was like, bruh, like, I don't know if I could do that again, but I'm like, fuck, I got one big ass hole. And then when they punch it out, like there's literally a chunk of skin inside the needle. That's like just a big piece of your fucking meat out of your ear, So yeah, I remember I did that. That was fucking brutal for sure. But that was the other thing that's like kind of similar fucking brutal pain like that.
Was that did you have those gauges when you had the white hair?
No, this would have been before. This would have been like in like high school, like early high school. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say
when I had the white hair, like back when I was bodybuilding and stuff, I definitely had, I had like fucking 3 piercings in each.
Yeah, I remember some earrings. Yeah,
I used to have quite a few earrings. Over my life, I've had a bunch. Like I had my nose done. I've had my fucking nipples done, a bunch of shit. But
shit, no way, the nipples.
Dude, yeah, I used to have my nipples pierced, and it's funny. I think I've had combined probably 12 times I've had my nipples pierced.
What?
Because I played football every season, or like, I would take them out for something.
Yeah.
But usually it was to play football in the summer. So I would get them pierced. I'd wear them all year. The football season would come. I'd take my nipple rings out. They'd heal up. I'd get them done again. And I did that like year after year. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So like, I
mean,
think
I
my
know
left one, I've probably had pierced like, 6 or 7 times. My right one, maybe like 4 or 5. Because there was a while where I just had one. So yeah, I mean, probably 10, 11 total fucking nipple piercings I've had done.
That's savage.
Yeah, no, that was
did those nipples get any bigger? Are they nice?
No, they got smaller.
Now?
Actually, they look nicer now. It's like it made them almost like they're like, like more pointy and small, and like it gave me some like nipple aesthetics. It was fucking
fire.
nipple maxing from fucking piercing them so many times.
I bet Melissa loved those piercings, eh?
Oh no, I was never with her when I had nipple piercings. Actually, that was before Melissa, so she never got to experience. She's been around when I had like ear ones. I think I got my nose pierced with her once, and I fucking, you have your nose pierced, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, maybe I'm a dirty fuck. I had an impossible time keeping that thing from not getting infected. Like my fucking dirty ass face or something. It's like, it just I couldn't keep it clean. Like I just always felt like it was kind of swollen. Even 2, 3, 4 months later, it just felt like it wasn't healing properly. So eventually I just fucking took it out, but it just never quite healed right for me. And it was always kind of just like, when you got like a fucking cut or like a sore pimple inside your nose and it's just like fucking irritating.
Fucking sucks.
It felt like that all the time. And I just fucking eventually took it out. Yeah.
It's a generic variant thing, dude. People will have random parts of their body that just won't accept it. I mean, it also depends on how like it's pierced, like if it's pierced at an angle or anything like that. But I mean, most of the time, some people like they just can't get their eyebrows done. Some people like fucking one of the worst ones, like, what is this called? I don't know. The cartilage of your ear.
Yeah, I had that.
Especially when you sleep on it.
An industrial, so like the bar that goes through the top.
Oh shit!
So like top, it's like 2 holes and the bar goes through. I had that, and it was like the most annoying thing ever. Like, laying on it, your ear just lost like all flexibility. It was like rigid now because like the 2 sides of it are attached. That one was fucking miserable. But like I said, at the time, it was like no one had that when I was young. So I'm like, I'm fucking cool having this. So I kept it for a while. But yeah, it's one of those things. Especially like when I was playing football and you're putting a helmet over on top of that. I fucking took it out eventually. I kept it for like 6 months, 8 months or something. Yeah.
Oh, we're some of the straightest homies.
Yeah.
Love it. Real fucking tangent, but like Melissa, she didn't know you when you had the nipple piercing, because I thought she knew you since high school.
We went to high school together. So we went to the same high school. We graduated same year. But we didn't start dating till 2 or 3, a couple of years after high school. So since we were 21, about to be 22. So yeah, I mean like 13 years now. So yeah, we were like a couple years after high school, like just through mutual friends from school. So like we went to the same high school, but we were definitely in very different social circles. Like I was the kind of kid, like, kind of fucking off in school, fucking smoking cigarettes between class and like doing cocaine on the weekends. And like,
not that he actually smoked cigarettes, guys.
Yeah. So in high school, I definitely did. Like not like I wasn't like a cigarette smoker, but like I definitely like, if the boys were smoking, I'm smoking too. You know what I mean? Like, I won't say no, like, and like I was, fucking more of like a jock athlete where she was like a little quieter. So we were definitely in different social circles. But we did have some mutual friends that then we linked up with after high school, just like, friends hanging out at a party, some shit and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was a couple years after high school. So I was pretty much piercing free at that point, from the nipple era, at least. Yeah.
12 nipple piercings before 21.
Yeah, I know. Dude, I got my first one done when I was like, probably in grade 7. Grade 8.
What?
Yeah. I had a cousin.
12 years old?
Yeah, one of my cousins, she is a couple years older, lives on the West Coast. And we were out visiting family in the summer I was out with my dad. We were visiting his side of the family out there. And she worked, or her boyfriend worked, I can't remember exactly what it was, at like a tattoo piercing place.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I just got fucking coaxed into doing this. And I remember being, at that age, I was so scared. Like they like got the needle near my nipple and I'm like, no. Like it took me 2 hours to finally get done. She's like, you don't have to do this. I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. So yeah, I did it when I was really young. And I remember I hid it from my parents, like just out of fear that I'd get in trouble for so long, like years, like I wouldn't take my shirt off, like avoided anything around my family where I had to be shirtless for fucking almost the lifetime of having the nipple piercing,
How was your dad? Was he ever like homophobic or anything?
No, like, look, my dad's an older generation. My dad's almost 80. But like, I wouldn't say
my mom's racist as fuck.
Yeah, well, your mom's Asian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my dad's like blue collar, like fucking, from like kind of like the same as like a Midwest, Canada's equivalent, like blue collar, fucking working class, like, from central Canada. So like, there's obviously a little bit of those tendencies that are probably bred into him that'll never go away. But I wouldn't say he's like overtly homosexual, but I definitely heard him say some fucking funny shit when I was a kid. That's for sure.
That's hilarious, man. It's one of the funniest things is like, back when Lexi was at like giving me like ideas to do with my hair, she would like love me or like want me to really like get a man bun. But then when I would talk to her dad, like, and I wouldn't bring up the man bun or anything, her dad would just like randomly say out of nowhere, like no previous like conversation given. He'd just be like, "It's a good thing you don't have a man bun because that's gay as fuck."
That's fucking gay. A month later, you come over with a man bun. You're like, shit,
That's funny as shit.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I have a bunch more tangent questions, but anyways, how's the new little prep situation going? You totally coaching yourself right now?
Am I what? Sorry,
you totally coaching yourself right now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in a prep situation by any means. I mean, like, look, I'd been off everything, for fucking 2.5 years. I mean, I retired in June of 23. So almost 3 years. And I kept going at it for, probably a couple months after that before I started my Olympia prep for the 23 Olympia. So, when I probably like actually called it and like start to come down off the drugs and shit, it was probably like end of summer, August, September of 23. So yeah, I mean, like almost 2.5 years I was off everything, and yeah, I mean, now I'm just like at the point where, the kind of the premise of that too was like, Melissa and I obviously were kind of having our fucking fertility journey there. Mm-hmm. So, I kind of just did the old cold turkey to give myself the best chance at all that. And then now that kind of process is behind me, I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I don't know if I'll get back on stage. I'm not setting like any expectations on myself of like, all right, this is a show. I'm doing it. I'm committing to it. It's nothing like that. It's more like, I have this opportunity. I'm still young. I'm still healthy. I still love bodybuilding. Let's see what I got. And if I still got some gas in the tank and if I can mentally do it. And also like a lot of lessons learned in retrospect, like things that I think you learned getting some time away from bodybuilding of things you'd like, if I was to do it again, I'd do this differently. Like not just from a physical standpoint, but like from a mental standpoint, like, the pressures that you place on yourself, the, fucking listening to shit on social media that would kind of, influence your decisions and how you kind of conduct your career and all these things that I think like I've matured a bit out of. And that I think I can do that process a bit healthier mentally and physically, like I said. So yeah, this is my opportunity that I'm like, you know what, I'll fucking test myself. And if at the end of this, in a couple months, I'll be like, you know what, I look fucking dope. Let's get on stage and see what happens. Then fucking fuck it, But as of now, it's really just like starting to get a little something back in, ramp up the training, be a little more. I was always pretty dialed in with my food, even when I was retired, because I needed to be like, I wanted to still look good off everything, which is not easy, So, that wasn't a big transition, just like kind of increasing the food slowly. And then I'm just going to kind of see where it goes from there,
So you're like 12 weeks out right now, huh?
Yeah, 12 weeks out, Detroit Pro, No, fuck, I have no idea, man. I definitely would need some more time. Like guys are so fucking big now, and they were still big when I was competing. I mean, I just retired a couple of years ago, but it's one of those things that you kind of have to see as you go and see, you don't really know until you get to that situation of like how hard you're willing to push it. And I'm kind of just playing that by ear and seeing if I feel good. And if I don't feel good, then I won't push it any further. But I'm like, all right, I'm still feeling good. I'm making good progress. Then I'm just going to keep riding it as long as that fucking wave keeps going,
Yeah. Up the dose a little bit, feel a little bit better. Up the dose a little bit, feel a little bit
better. Just a little more, Yeah.
All right. Actually, that kind of brought up a question that I'm curious about. What do you think? So I got this comment the other day, this very angry comment from someone that was clearly probably a little bit of higher, older generation than me. Very mad about like people not training as hard these days, and everyone just only cares about the gear and all that shit. And like, like no one looks nearly as good as they did before. The past was way better. And I'm just like, but was it really though?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like
this time, that one. Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, the torsos are definitely a lot bigger these days. The chests, the lats. the back. I think there's just like a different priority.
Yeah.
You know,
guys are definitely bigger. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And physiques, like the physiques change, you know, I mean, it's what the physiques look like now versus then. I mean, there is differences in it, and the judging criteria maybe changes. And it also changes of like who's kind of on top and what you're chasing. You know, like when Ronnie Coleman was winning, everyone tried to get bigger because that's the only tool you can have to keep up with a guy that's fucking 300 pounds at 5'10" on stage. Like what else do you do, you know?
Yeah.
So like, that's kind of how it was. I mean, and I definitely don't think that bodybuilders are worse today. I mean, if you look at this past Olympia, you know, the quality of guys was outstanding. I mean, you had guys, you know, coming like Urs and fucking Jordan Hutchinson that are like 12, 13. These guys are fucking awesome bodybuilders, you know?
Oh yeah, fire.
You know, I mean, like Brett Wilkin was like last place at the Olympia, and the guy's fucking good. Like these are good bodybuilders, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, to say that the quality is low is crazy for sure. You know, and look, do I think that with social media and there's more information out, that there is obviously this kind of thing of people trying to find like the path of least resistance to make the most progress? For sure. Do I think there is definitely a following of people that, you know, are trying to train differently or trying to train less hard, you know, to try and like, you know, and justify it with fatigue or whatever the kind of nuance they want to put on it, or think that they can, you know, oversmart it with peptides or drugs or something like, there is. And there always will be. I mean, even back then, there was probably guys, you know, in the 90s that were fucking cranked to the absolute gills that didn't train hard. I mean, there always will be people that just don't have that mental tenacity to push hard. That's not like a new thing. It's just you see it all now because it's all in your face on social media versus back then. You might see one fucking DVD that one guy puts out once a year, and he fucking trains hard in the one DVD, but that might not be how he trains all the time, you know? Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's kind of like you were seeing a snapshot versus now you can kind of see everybody's shit all the time. So I think you get a bit more of like an actual like depiction of the reality of a vast array of people training, right?
The way that I would personally put it, in my opinion, is that people in the past, pros in the past, just train more aggressively, simply because nowadays people are a little bit more, I think, adherent to this idea that strategic management is like just more important, which I think to a degree is definitely true, especially if you're like stressed out throughout the day and you're doing so many other things like, you know, psychological stresses with your relationships, with your school, whatever you're doing. But as far as the past, I think the aggressiveness, I don't know. I think it was pretty sick, and I think it showed that you could really push past barriers that you believe, like push past barriers that the human body just keeps you from growing. I don't know if that makes any sense. That was
I get it correctly, and I do agree. Is like an overarching theme for sure. And like I said, you know, I think people are trying to find ways to kind of like outsmart things because they, you know, because working out at that level is fucking hard. So they want to find ways to make it less hard. You know, like obviously. But I do still think there is lots of guys that train really fucking hard, you know, like I would like to say to myself that I'm someone that trains hard. And I know there is other guys that train hard as well. But I mean, like I said, you obviously see more of it now, and there's more science out there, and people try and use this science to rationalize maybe working a little less intensely or aggressively, like you said, because they justify that it's not needed because that's not necessarily what the science dictates, you know, so there is kind of this rationalization around it. And look, they might be right. I don't know, you know, like who knows? Maybe training as hard as some of us do isn't the right way to go about it, but it's fucking cool. So like, just do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool. Like it's fun. It's cool. It's part of the bodybuilding like experience to me is it's obviously being methodical and trying to do the most optimized protocol to build the most amount of muscle. But it's also like, it's a test, like it's a mental test. And I find part of that test that makes it enjoyable for me is seeing how hard I can push myself, you know, like getting myself to those depths of like pushing fucking sets deeper and harder and using more weight and really like testing the bounds that my body is capable of, you know, like, and that's for me, especially like I like being strong. I like testing how hard and how heavy I can push things. And even if I was never to accomplish anything in my bodybuilding career, I could still look back at the feats I've done in the gym and be fucking proud of those, you know?
And one thing too, that I just think is important to say, I don't even know if people have really My perspective is that a lot of us, especially that guys that have achieved a lot or that have grown a lot from whatever their baseline was whenever they were younger, whatever like shithole that they grew out of, you know, this entry level for bodybuilding is kind of like an emotional outlet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that thing doesn't really change by generation. Like regardless, it's like very relative to like, well, how much pain have you felt? How have you shuttle that into the gym and just forced yourself to move forward? And I think a lot of these guys, no matter who you are, will utilize that and fucking train hard because of that. So no matter what, like the guys who have the pain and like and shuttle that into the gym, they're going to failure for sure.
100%.
These guys, you hit that part and you just can't keep going anymore.
Yeah. And that could be part of the variance too, with especially in like this social media driven era of like the fitness world, is that you have more people coming into this community that don't necessarily have that fueling them, that are doing it because they just want to have a career in fitness. They want to make money off social media. They want to be a fitness influencer versus be the best bodybuilder in the world, and using those things, like you're saying, to help fuel their training and fuel their, you know, a hard dieting, their cardio, like that. That's like that undertone that is pushing them. Where like I said, I think there's still lots of guys that are those guys, and those are like, I think the cream rises to the top, but you obviously get more people, like the barrier of entry is different in this world, that there's more opportunity to have a career in it that isn't being the best bodybuilder. It's just being a fitness influencer. So some of those people just don't have that in them, and they never did. But they're still using the avenues that are out there to try and make something of it, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that part. I can tell you though, that doing the whole like trying to stay shredded thing 3 to 4 years straight, like the Joesthetics type style. Yeah. That shit was not that fun, to be honest. It was fun to be shredded. I can tell you that, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I can't say I've ever done it, but I mean, fuck, like obviously, you know, when you're prep lean, it's like the best time of the year, you know, especially when you line up your shows. Like, so you're doing shows all summer and you're like tanned and peeled all summer. You're like, it's fucking sick, you know?
It feels so much better now that I'm like cycling it. You know, I'm like doing prep and then I'm going in the off season and doing prep again. Every time I'm in the off season, I can't wait for prep. Every time I'm in prep, I can't wait for the fucking off season. Yeah. Versus you do it 4 years straight without like Reddit existing. Well, Reddit did, but like without GLPs being a prominent thing that I even knew about at the time. It's like you're just kind of like starving to death and it's just fucking miserable. Then you're irritable at the gym trying to film at the same time and everyone like hates you because you're the guy filming. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, no, you're so true. It's so right though. Like that is like, in the bodybuilding world, it's such like a grass is greener always. And you're like, you know, pushed into that one like phase of whatever your year is. And then you're so excited to be in the next. It's like when you're dieting, you just want to eat and be huge. And then when you're eating and huge and you're fucking full all the time, you just can't wait to be lean and fucking eat less food. It's just like, you know, forever chasing that white rabbit, like round and round, you know?
Mm-hmm. How is your diet changing now? Like now, like, looking back on like these mistakes that you feel like you might have made and things that you want to change now and things that you want to improve on now that you're potentially being back on stage. Yeah, I mean,
first things for me is I'm definitely like placing a bigger emphasis on like optimizing my digestion. You know, like I was in a state of digestive distress and discomfort for a fucking decade. You know, like I swear I was pissing out my ass for the better part of 10 years when I was bodybuilding, you know? So that was like a big thing, like, you know, that I started to try and tackle well before I kind of got it back into this. And just like, you know, almost by process of elimination with foods, like finding things that, you know, there was foods that I was eating that just felt like they were bodybuilder foods that I had to eat and or that were like, you know, part of the process of bodybuilding that I just like ate because I'd always been eating. Then I had the opportunity to like, okay, let's cut some of these out and kind of figure out like what my body seems to run the best on and then kind of make my plan based off that. So, you know, well, the biggest things, you know, for sure too, is more like dietary variance. Like I was a guy that would eat like chicken and rice with fucking olive oil, like 6 times in a day. You know what I mean? Like it was just like, so like, this is what I need. That's the end. Like no fucking, it was like so plain and so like the same every meal, just of like simplicity in my mind. So, you know, more dietary variance, you know, kind of eliminating those foods that were giving me digestive discomfort. You know, and a big thing for me as well is I think, and I'm just interested to try it this way, is not being so aggressive with my food in the attempt to grow. You know, I think I probably pushed my food higher in most off seasons than I really needed to at all. You know, like it's because you get into that as a pro bodybuilder, you're like more, like to get bigger, I need to eat more food, like constantly. You think you're just have to be pushing it. And I'm trying at this time to just like stay as lean and as minimally invasive to like caloric increases as I can, and kind of see how well I respond to that while maintaining as good of a composition as possible, which I know obviously seems obvious, but you know, like I said, like you get into that habit as a bodybuilder, like off season comes, it's like weight's not moving, increase the food. Weight's not moving, increase the food. Like it's like forever. But even if you weren't increasing in body weight, were you still making progressions? And that's hard to really gauge when you're just forever increasing the food, you know? Because like, yeah, you're gaining scale weight, but how much of that's actually muscle? And then you come to prep, you're just like end up at the same fucking scale weight that you did the year before, even though you got 10 pounds heavier in the off season, you know? So this time I'm just trying to stay a little bit leaner, you know, not push the food unless I really feel it's needed, and just like listen to my like kind of feedback of like, okay, how's my performance in the gym? Does my energy feel good? Is my sleep good? Do I feel like my performance in the gym is consistently improving in some metric or another? And if it is, I'm not worrying about increasing the food. You know, it's like, hey, if I stay 275, but I'm just getting better and better and better at that weight, and I'm getting stronger, I'm not worried. I know that muscle is accruing there. So I'm going to just try it this time instead of pushing myself up to 300 pounds and then just dieting back down to 255. You know, like it just seemed like one of those things you felt like you had to do, but I want to see if I actually needed to do that. I don't think I did, you know?
When you were working under Patrick, did you feel like you personally could have limited the calories a little bit more rather than how hard you guys were going?
With Patrick, honestly, it wasn't too bad. Like we definitely had some off seasons where we pushed it high. But like most of the off seasons with him, I actually stayed in pretty good striking distance. And, you know, we got in a pretty good system. Like, look, food got high, and it obviously always has to some degree when you're 285 pounds of muscle, even if you're in good composition to hold that, you need a lot of food. But the years like in 2020, 21, 22, when we were like really doing good, I was only getting about 30 pounds over stage weight. But I still think then I could do it a little tighter than that, you know? So, you know, like if I would get up to like 285 then instead of being like 295, 300, like I'd kind of done on my own accord in the past sometimes. So yeah, I'm going to try and find the middle ground kind of between those, right?
Yeah. Okay. I was curious because obviously, you know, after talking with coaches like Chris Tuttle, Dom Super Slice, a lot of these guys that are, I guess, proponents of keeping insulin sensitivity highest throughout the off season, and then really just titrating up the calories slowly.
Yeah.
It has me curious about how that would fare for me, like in terms of just quality of gains versus how much fat I'm gaining in the off season versus Patrick's a little bit more old school style of like, oh, you need to push calories up pretty damn high to meet those, you know, high amount of gains.
Yeah, I think as long as the performance is increasing in the gym, I think it's all good. And there's obviously a lot of stock in keeping that insulin sensitivity high. You know, but like I'm just like I said, I'm going with it in the sense of as long as my performance is increasing, I'm not going to like become a slave to the scale, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can say though, when Patrick and I were doing this last off season, I made some crazy gains both in strength as well in my legs. So
for sure,
there's definitely something to be said about that. But
yeah, and I also think it's like, you know, it's like a double-edged sword in that it hurts you on the back end too. It's like if you get super heavy, maybe there's a little bit more potential for muscle growth. Let's just say hypothetically, you gain an extra 2 pounds of muscle, but now you have an extra 8 pounds of fat as well. You know, when you get into that prep scenario and you need to diet that down, what does that render in terms of how hard you have to push in a prep? And I think the harder you have to push in a prep generally results in a worse package to an extent, you know, like if you have to go super, super low on calories for long periods of time, you're doing extreme amounts of cardio, that's obviously putting your body in a less favorable state to hold on to tissue and to keep performance in the gym high, which like I think keeping the performance as high as possible, as long as possible, is probably the most important thing for like keeping tissue and keeping like a good keeping your physique looking alive when you get on stage, right? You know, the shows where I pushed up really heavy, well, now I have to diet off 50, 55 pounds to get onto stage, right? And, you know, I'm pushing my calories down low. My cardio is really high. My performance in the gym starts to suffer because of that. You know, and I guess you could take a longer prep, but you also kind of have to plan your season somewhat strategically. So, you know, there's two ways to do it for sure. But yeah, I think it's definitely doable keeping a little bit leaner composition and having that process of dieting down be like very minimally invasive and very slow and gradual, keeping performance in the gym really, really high, right?
That's something that I would love to ask Samson if he ever came on the podcast, is how he felt like his performance was in those last like 6 to 8 weeks of prep when he was just pushing it really hard for Olympia. Yeah.
I would assume, and this is just a complete assumption, that it probably suffered, you know. It's hard not to, especially with a body that big. It takes fuel to push a body like that in the gym. You need fuel to support that. And if you're pushing that really low, it's something's got to give, and it's usually on the back end of that training, especially if cardio is high as well. Like there's only so much like.
Thank you for the mic, by the way. You are probably one of the best quality audios. Like everyone that comes on has shit audio
on the cell phone, and okay. I think it's it's definitely tough to manage with a body that big for sure. Because you need to have that food to be able to train hard. Like it's just the way it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How much would you say that your weight is climbing approximately each week with how much you're limiting your calories right now? I'm assuming your training progress is still. I'm assuming your training is still progressing at small amounts. Maybe
it's progressing pretty well. I started this process. I can't remember, a couple of weeks ago now, maybe 3 weeks. And I was 258, and I'm 273 now.
Okay.
So that's 15 pounds. Obviously,
holy shit.
Look, obviously, I know I started anabolics. There's going to be an initial part of that is just water, glycogen, things like that are kind of reuptaking. But does my look in the mirror look considerably different already? For sure. There's more fullness, more roundness, more pop to my physique already. That's kind of come back, which is in part because of that, more glycogen, more water, things like that. But I've also in that weight gain, I'm also probably a good couple percent leaner than I was at that 258. So even though I'm 15 pounds heavier,
that's sexy.
Yeah. So I have a lot more visible abs and a lot less body fat than I did, even though I put on that weight. So like I said, I'm just going to keep kind of riding this out. And if I'm still progressing in the gym, I'll leave it. And once I find that starts to dwindle a little bit, and my energy balance doesn't feel quite optimal, then I'll add in a little bit more food, but just very minimal. And I'll just keep building like that. So, yeah.
You're a lot more excited to take selfies right now?
Not yet. No, I mean, look, once in a while, I'll pop them. I'll be taking a shower and I got the post shower, hot shower pump, or it's or after you have sex and you're all pumped up from doing that, it's you got that
chest and abs are all veiny.
Yeah, exactly. From holding yourself up and everything's all fucking pumped up, I'll in the mirror sometimes I'm like, oh man, shit. And I'll take the picture and I'm like, all right, maybe I'll post this on Instagram, but yeah, I mean, I'm definitely happy with how things are progressing. And I'm trying to be very patient with it. It's because when where you've been, it's all right, I just want to get back there. But I'm also trying to do this in a different way. So let's not just fall back into old habits. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. What are some of the foods that are different now that you're including in your diet than they were before?
It's more so things that I'm not including. I'm eating zero poultry meat now. So no chicken, no turkey at all.
Really? Why is that?
Literally strictly from a digestive purpose. When I pulled that out, my appetite and my quality of digestion improved tenfold within 2 days. Literally that fast. 2-3 days. My fucking shit got way more solid. I felt way higher appetite and ready to eat sooner. So yeah, I pulled that out and I literally just did it just to try. I didn't think that was the culprit, but like I said, I was just kind of all right, let's cut one thing and see. And I started doing more beef, and then I started doing beef and fish and no chicken. And I started to just feel better and better. My daily energy was better. My digestion felt better. Like I said, I was ready to eat sooner instead of you get to the next meal 3 hours later and you're like, fuck, I'm still kind of full from the last one. This fucking sucks, where I'm all right, I'm ready to eat now. Even though the food has been increasing, I don't feel like it's before. It's you add a little bit and it's fuck, this is getting difficult and stuff. It still feels like my motility and how well I'm moving through the food is really good. So yeah. And like I said, I was eating, at points of my life, I was eating chicken fucking 4 or 5 meals in a day, other than meal. I mean, even I've had chicken as part of my meal one, so there was points that I was probably having it up to 5, maybe even 6 meals a day. So pulling that out definitely made it probably the most dramatic difference, things like that, things like whole eggs. I'm not eating any whole eggs anymore. So anything that comes from a fucking bird, basically, I guess, That
was the same thing that happened, or that was the same thing I did from 2018 to 2023. My homies would be taking pictures of me having bringing out the chicken breast after a rave and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and chicken it feels like it's just such a staple food in bodybuilding. So I always felt like I had to be eating it. And it was just part of, you eat chicken breast or ground turkey or whatever it was. But now I just do, like, I have a meal that's whitefish that I do before I train that I find like sits in my stomach really well. So I can go to the gym and I don't feel like I have food sitting in my stomach. I have a meal that's like a beef meal. I have a salmon meal. So like I have some good dietary variants and like protein variants in there as well. So, and it seems to be good. But yeah, I mean, taking the chicken out definitely made the biggest like tangible difference for me in my digestion for sure. Yeah.
How much do you think this chicken thing is specific to you?
I mean, probably, look, I think there's probably other people that are eating chicken that would feel better without it for sure. Do I think that this is specific to me in a sense as well? Yes. Like, you know, it depends. I mean, you know, some guys probably eat lots of it and have zero problems with it. And I didn't always have issues with it. I mean, I used to eat, you know, early in my career and for a long time, I would eat a lot of chicken. My digestion felt great. But as I got older and I was eating so much of it so long, maybe I just developed some kind of like allergy or an intolerance to it. So yeah, I'm glad that I, you know, ran the experiment of trying to cut that out because it's made a big difference for me for sure.
You know, something interesting is I haven't had it, like, it wasn't tenfold for me, but I've done the exact same thing, like about like a year ago, is I basically just minimized my chicken breast. And now literally right now I haven't had any chicken in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
I just do fucking straight up like 96.4 ground beef and salmon.
Yeah.
And then whey protein. And
yeah,
I don't know, man. It's just so much easier to digest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's similar to what I'm doing. I have 2 meals that are whey as the protein source. Like I said, I have one that's beef or elk. Like I have some elk that I'm eating through.
Elk is fire.
Yeah. And then the whitefish meal and a salmon meal. So it's, and my digestion feels great. So I'm not fucking with it right now. You know, it's like, we're in a good spot. So I'm just going to leave it as is, you know?
You ever feel like just hunting your own meat just makes you more jacked?
Oh, dude. Yeah. When you eat an animal that you've killed, it makes you feel like 100 times more manly and more anabolic for sure. Like, you know, like you're like, I harvested this. This is mine. Like, it just feels like you're, you know, and obviously like you have a lot higher quality control of that animal to a sense. Like, look, you don't know the life it's lived, but at least this was an animal that was in the wild eating its natural diet versus, you know, eating farmed beef or something like this. Like, you know, I try and buy grass-fed beef and stuff like that. But even then, who knows what the fuck these farmers are doing with that shit, you know? So,
no, yeah, I agree.
So, you know, at least when you shoot a fucking deer or something out in the wild, you're like, all right, I know this was, you know, a ruminant eating its natural diet in the wild, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I do kind of believe in you are what you eat.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Don't eat pussy.
I make a point too with every animal that it feels safe to do that when I kill them, I eat the heart and the nuts. I like steal its like fucking mojo, you know?
Fire,
like,
dude.
Yeah. Got to take its manliness from it and consume it and make it part of me, you know?
I think you talked about this on a bro science on a bro chat before. How do you cook the nuts?
So the only way that I've ever done them is you take them, and this is one of my buddies I hunt with, his uncle gave us this, is basically you like cut them up and they're like almost like gelatin-y kind of inside there. And then you roll them in like flour and seasoning. So you're almost like breading them, and then you just like flash fry them in oil. So they're like almost like little nuggets, you know? And that's the way to go. They're fucking delicious, man.
That
really
actually
good.
sounds kind of fire, not gonna lie.
Dude, they're so good. Like, yeah, amazing. Yeah.
That sounds really good to me because, dude, I was, I need to continue this conversation before I just cut it off like that. I was in a zoo culture with Eric Janicki for some homies video or something. And he and I had to try a raw version of like all the organs. And brain sucked, but I got to tell you, dude, something about the nuts, just the raw nuts, was probably the most disgusting thing I've ever had in my entire fucking life.
And you just ate them raw?
We had to. It was like literally everything was
gross.
raw.
Yeah,
it was disgusting. It was fucking gross.
I've never done that. I've eaten like raw heart and some stuff like that, where it's like it doesn't really taste like much. It's just like kind of tastes like metallic, like blood and like fucking tissue. You know, like eating kind of raw steak, but a bit different texture. But yeah, eating the raw, like especially when I know what the consistency of those is, that's fucking gross. Yeah.
Can't believe I said that on air.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. What about like fruits and veggies? Are these things that are new to your diet now that were in there before? Yeah,
I mean, I don't look. I never did, and I don't eat a ton of vegetables. Like the way I eat them kind of is, I eat them cooked into my rice. So like that's what I kind of do now is like I cut up vegetables and just like cook them in with my rice, so they're kind of like just in there. But I eat a lot of fruit for sure. You know, like I eat fruit and probably 3, maybe even 4 of my meals, I'm eating at least something. So like I try and keep that like, reasonably high. Yeah.
Good old Walker frozen blueberries.
The blueberries, I eat a lot of pineapple too. Pineapple's my fucking like go-to.
Yeah. Patrick has a lot lot of pineapple in my life.
Yeah, he loves the pineapple.
It's just blueberry, pineapple, and mango.
Yeah, I got on the pineapple train from Patrick, and that's definitely been one that's kept in there. And I definitely noticed a difference in like my digestion from having the bit of digestive enzymes and the fucking bromelain or whatever it is you get in the pineapple. I definitely find makes a difference for me.
Did Melissa ever mention anything about the pineapple?
That's a good question. No, I don't know if she has. I should ask her when I'm off here. Be like, hey, have you noticed a difference? I'm eating a lot of this. Is there a difference now? I'll run that experiment tonight.
How high are your calories right now?
Like low, like 4,300, I think they are.
Okay.
Yeah. 4,300, something like that. I mean, between 4,000 and off 4,000. Yeah. 4,000 on an off day, 4,500 maybe on a training day. Maybe a bit more. So yeah, kind of in that range. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. How has training been? Is there any differences that you're doing in training since you were competing before?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I was one of those guys that kind of got in that like first generation of like low volume guys, like I was like when that started to like repopularize, like kind of like 2015, 2016. When like the Dante Trudel dog crap kind of got popularized and, the low volume training kind of became this thing that people start to do. I got on that and I was making really good progress at the time, especially from a strength perspective. So I kind of just ran with that. It kind of like became my identity, like I was just like, I'm a low volume guy. And I kind of like stayed on that train. And I don't think I ever really like tested myself in terms of like how much volume am I capable of handling before I get negative feedback, where it's continually giving me positive feedback until I kind of reach the threshold and then maybe stepping back a bit. So this time I'm definitely training a lot more volume, where I was like kind of a 2 sets across the board on everything, just like generically for no real reason. It just was like how that kind of style of training was for some reason. And I never really increased from that. So like my only real metric for progression in that was in strength. Like in progressing in the weight or, obviously form adjustments and stuff, but like I'm pretty tight with my form. So, the real metric to use there was just my strength, where now I'm using strength for sure. And obviously progression's there, but also using the volume as a progression tool as well. So yeah, I mean, already I'm probably training like 30% higher volume than I was even at my like peak years in like I said, between 2019, 22 kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's only been like 2-3 weeks, but do you feel like that's made much of a difference so far?
It's hard to say. I mean, I definitely, like my physique's right now, it's going to be improving no matter what, so it's tough to say, when you're going from being on no anabolics to having anabolics in, to, increasing the food to all this, like there's so many factors that have been kind of, it started at once. It's really hard to pinpoint like what is the factor that's driving progress at the highest rate right now. But I'm definitely interested to see if it renders a different look, because like earlier in my career, and like this is the most anecdotal bro science thing ever. But early in my career, I trained super high volume, like I followed guys like Jay Cutler and stuff. And I was like 4 sets of everything. And like on a chest day, I would do every single exercise that you could do in the gym, 4 sets of fucking 12, and I was like super high volume, 20, 25 sets of body part. And I definitely was like, and it's hard to say if I was just younger and fresher physique, or if there's a correlation here. But I think if you kind of look at physiques across the board, you kind of see this, but it's tough to pinpoint. And in terms of like the roundness and like life to my physique, like bubbliness and roundness that I had to my physique with more volume versus when I started training less volume and more like focused on just poundage. I had like more of a density looking to my physique, but maybe not quite as round and full looking as I was earlier in my career. So now I'm kind of trying it. I'm like, look, I know it's not an age thing at this point now because I am older. So if I get rounder and look more, full and kind of like have more life to my physique doing it now, then I know it is a training correlation. Versus if I look the same as when I was doing, lower volume, then I know it's just like an age thing, So,
makes me wonder if the look is related to something like inflammation or just like the pump, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there is some, correlation in there as well with like, what do they call it? Like sarcoplasmic fucking hypertrophy as well. Just like that's the cellular swelling in there as well from maybe having more volume. But yeah, I'm interested to try. So right now I'm kind of just doing, slowly increasing my volume until I find the threshold that I'm capable of handling from like a recovery and energy management standpoint. So, like when I started, it was kind of like my normal 2 sets of everything. And then like one exercise, I'd increase to 3 sets. The second exercise, I increase to 3 sets. And I'm just like kind of slowly building on that until I'm like, all right, this is enough. Like it's starting to be that my recovery is hindered. My joints are sore, like whatever negative feedback I'll feel. I guess I'll feel it when I feel it. And then I'll kind of, use my best judgment at that point to kind of like reel it back a bit to find kind of the happy medium and then kind of progress in stages from there. Right.
How much volume per muscle group would you say you're doing right
now? So certain things like chest and arms, I'm training twice a week. So those definitely have a bit more volume. Like my leg volume is definitely my lowest because I'm only doing one. Like I'm kind of doing like a push-pull legs hybrid, but like where there would be a second leg day in that 6 days or 7 days or whatever, it's an arm day. So I'm doing like an arm day, but then I'm also getting like a bit of arms on the push and pull days. So those are like where I have the most amount of volume. So like, let's say I'm probably doing, probably 20 sets a week of like chest or like arms or something like that. 20 to 22 sets a week total probably, versus like legs is probably like 12 to 15 sets a week, 12 sets a week. 12 to 15. So, I'm kind of in that range right now. Yeah.
Damn. 20 sets a week versus 12. Yeah. Do you feel like, what do you feel like is your strongest genetic body part? Easiest to grow?
Probably my shoulder. Yeah. I mean, look, maybe. Early in my career, I had fucking sick calves, okay? If you look at, I could find some pictures from like when I started competing up until probably 2018, I started to notice I didn't notice at the time. I didn't kind of notice until they were fucking gone, to be honest. But yeah, if I look back at pictures, they kind of peaked in that like 2016, 17 era and then started to go down. But, when I turned pro and like a couple years after that, I remember getting like compliments of like, oh yeah, this guy's even has sick calves, like, which now I certainly would not get that fucking compliment. But yeah, genetically, I actually think I have good calves, but something over the years killed them off. And I know people will be quick to say that I was shooting shit in them or something. I swear I wasn't. Have I shot shit in them? Yes, but I tried to do that after they were dead. That was to try and save them. I fucking started shooting gear in them to just site inject and try and make them better after the fact. But they were already fucking long gone at that point. So, and did that maybe make it worse? Probably. I think a muscle that's obviously having some issues and you shove a bunch of needles in it, it's probably not helping. But at the time they were pretty much already all gone by then. So it's tough to say what it came from. And this is a thing that definitely a lot of bodybuilders have experienced in their careers. Like I've seen lots of guys. I mean, you see Dennis Wolf had it happen. I know a couple of buddies in Canada have had this happen. And none of them had it happen from shooting shit in their calves. It's either something like Dennis Wolf said his came from like a cervical spine injury, nerve pinching of some kind. And I know that some guys can get it from if you're squatting or like training legs a lot in really tight wraps or knee sleeves. When you're getting down and it's forcing the pressure of that sleeve into the back of the knee where that nerve bed is in the back of the knee constantly over time, you kind of, blunt that nerve just from shoving so much, you're squatting 600 pounds for reps in a fucking tight knee wrap. And it's, you feel it cutting off that circulation, cutting off that nerve supply. It could be from that. It could be a, lower back, like, lumbar SI issue from a nerve issue where that nerve branch goes, to both sides to supply to the nerve root down to the both calves. So it's something in that realm. I'm not entirely sure. I've been doing that shockwave therapy shit on it.
Okay.
Which I'd never done that stuff before. And it seems to be helping a little bit. I'm definitely starting to feel a bit more like ability to contract the calf, like where I can actually, like, if I flex that, part of the gastroc, I'm like, oh, I can actually feel it. Or when I train it, I actually feel that part and I get a good pump in there and there is some like life to it. Do I think I'll ever get them back to where they were? Fuck no. But do I think that, if I, am smart with my training and I keep up with my therapies, that I can at least make a little progress in them. Maybe, I don't know. We'll find out, So,
hey, I mean, so far I've never heard the judges say that like I need better glutes or calves or whatever. So, or
no, look,
really
even when my
many other
calves
guys.
were like fucking almost gone, all the feedback I ever got from judges, never once did they say improve your calves. Like literally, I've never had that. Like I've had them say, improve your back. I mean, improve your fucking chest, like whatever it is, these things. But I never once had a judge tell me to improve my calves. Yeah.
I really hope none of them are listening to this podcast, so they never start.
Now they're going to start looking, Yeah. Oh, his shit's bad. Let me look next time.
Yeah, dude, it was fucking rough being on stage. I noticed that I had the smallest, juicy dump truck. Just like, man, I need to do a little bit more leg press or something.
Oh, that's funny.
With peptides growing substantially in the last couple of months now, and honestly, we could list out a long list of all the peptides that have helped us. You guys have heard these peptides and these research chems in the podcast maybe a million times. Peptides I've used from APR such as BPC 157 and TB 500 for soft tissue healing, retatrutide and other GLPs, mitochondrial support such as SS31, MOTC, 5-amino-1Q, methylene blue, SLU. There's a bunch of others. Obviously, the list goes on and on. One of my favorite things, though, that I've been utilizing, such as during my last prep, that has allowed my blood work to come basically pristine, aside from slightly elevated liver enzymes at about 60 and 130 1 week after the show. And this is after a leg day because my dumbass doesn't want to skip a training day. These are probably the things that I think are the most important. So this includes like your injectable glutathione, injectable or even just normal NAC, liposoluble glutathione, GI aids such as oral BPC, oral TB, KPV. A lot of these things have probably been very substantial in reducing oxidative stress and keeping all my blood markers down, and thus keeping me as basically healthy as fucking possible that you can be while you're bodybuilding. So I couldn't be more thankful to Mike for literally showing me the ropes and also providing me with all of these things. Even the compounded supplements that he creates for blood pressure and reducing oxidative stress on all your organs, including your cardiovascular system, your liver and your kidneys. All of these that he creates have been very substantial, honestly. So you can find any of these at his site, aprhealthsolutions.com. And he has offered me a code Nile for you guys to use, which will offer you a 15% discount off of all of that as well, since he knows that the codes are a little bit just for the homies, If you guys end up using those and you like him, please let me know. Shoot in a comment, just give me a DM or something. And if you ever have any problems or any questions, I'll be here too. This is a community for me. Even though I don't have a fucking Discord because I'm lazy as shit, but I fucking should make one. So love you guys. And keep training hard. Other than calves, what do you feel like is your strongest body part?
Probably my shoulders are probably the thing I had definitely the most developed in my career. Yeah, I mean, probably shoulders. I mean, yeah, probably shoulders. Yeah. I mean, my quads are always pretty decent. I mean, obviously had good glutes. That's like a weird muscle to say as like one of your best muscles. That's kind of fucking sucks. But yeah, I mean, probably shoulders would be like my easy go-to, And like I always had one thing I'm like, it's not a muscle, but like one thing I always like maintained pretty well in my career, no matter how big I got, that I take as a feather in my cap, is like my waistline always stayed small, like even when I was like competing at 260 plus, like I never really had any dramatic changes or any changes really at all in like the size of my waist. So, that's something that definitely, I think was important and lended to a lot of the shots that were kind of attributed as being my best poses, like my side quarter turns or my side tricep or my front lat, like some of those where like having a good tight waistline can really emphasize those shots. I think that like helped me a lot in those. So that was definitely something that, aided in my physique being, as good as it was definitely my waistline. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, whenever you do those side chests, you'd have like these horns coming out of the back of your shoulders. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah. No, my shoulders always developed. And I had like when I was younger and I was like spamming volume. I remember times of my life, man, where I was doing like 5 rear delt exercises, like I would just do every rear delt exercise.
Is there even that much that exists?
Dude, I would just do like everything. I'd be doing face pulls, cable rear delt flies, fucking reverse pec deck. Like, the ones where you would get the barbell behind your back and raise it up. Do you remember those? You take like a straight bar behind your back and I would do like the raises,
No shit.
I would do everything. Cause I can't remember who it was. Like I read some fucking magazine or an article or something, and some bodybuilder was saying like, if you really want good delts, you got to focus on the rear delt. Like that gives it the shape. So that like got in my head from a young age. So I just like spammed rear delts like crazy from a super young age. So they definitely fucking developed a lot when I was young. Yeah. So I had really good like round delts. But the problem with that is it probably lended to my lack of chest. And one, that it overpowered them. And two, my shoulders got so strong and so well developed that I just had a really, really hard time connecting with my chest and not having my fucking shoulders just be like doing all the fucking work in any of my pressing or fly movements, you know? So that was something I kind of had to like, you know, slow down and kind of relearn to be able to actually be fucking using my chest and not just pressing through my delts, you know?
Yeah. I think that's one of the most interesting things is just everybody has a different propensity to be able to engage a muscle group better than someone else. Yeah. Like I'll have my buddy Nathan he literally looks like he has Ramon Dino genetics. And if he only just kept competing, it would be absolutely insane with like the biggest forearms, biggest arms, biggest legs, everything, small waist. But then like dude tries to like, and his back is thick as fuck, but then he tries to just do a lat pull down and he just still pulls with his rear delt and his biceps.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was the same way with doing rear delt exercises when I was younger, which definitely made them a lot bigger. But then it ended up being so that like my interior, like my front delt just never grew well. So then it ended up looking like a triangle.
All rear delts, no front delts.
Yeah, it's terrible. I was going to ask you about the gut thing, actually. I was literally thinking about that earlier. How do you feel like you kept a small waist even though you had water coming out of your asshole throughout?
Yeah. I mean, the simple answer to that is fucking luck and genetics, man. I mean, I'm not going to say that I had like some fucking, you know, secret like midsection routine that I was like doing or fucking vacuums 10 hours a day. Like I wasn't doing shit, you know, like I just got lucky that it never really fucking grew. And I think one thing I was good with is I was always mindful of like my control of my midsection. So like when I was training, like focusing on actually keeping it like drawn in and engaged. And even when I'd be like as heavy as I was in the off season, I kind of was like always, became subconscious over time, but I was never just like letting my like midsection relax. Like I wouldn't be sitting on the couch with like my stomach relaxed, like hanging out. I always kind of just like, and even now, like I'm sitting here, it's like kind of flexed. Like it has just become like a second nature to not let it just like hang out and be relaxed in that muscle. I've always kind of kept it drawn in and engaged and tight. And I definitely, you know, emphasize that when I train and using that as like a point of stability. So I'm definitely sure that lended to it and like keeping that engaged and not letting those muscles kind of like stretch out over time and shit or whatever the fuck happens to guys' waists. You know, and maybe if there's some correlation to growth hormone there, I don't know. I never pushed GH like super crazy. And I only used it like really, like honestly at the best years of my career. So it's not like I had like a 15-year run of like cranking GH. So I don't know what the correlation is with that, if that's something people like to say that. So if it is, then maybe that aided in it. But I think a lot of it was just like the luck and genetics and being mindful of it, you know, when I was sitting around or at training, right?
Yeah. I had the same thing throughout my, I actually, honestly, I just by default always do the same thing, but it's not because like I'm conscious of trying to be a better bodybuilder. Straight up, the fact is just I was just super fucking fat when I was a kid and didn't want people to see my belly. So I'm used to like in school, like keeping it in for like the first 18 years of my life. But as far as the GH thing goes, it's something that I've been curious about, especially recently after discussing, I don't know, it seems. Now I'm going to ask you this question first, but when did you start the GH? How long and what dosages were you running when you were doing it?
Yeah. So I used a little bit when I was like, you know, maybe I didn't use it until after I turned pro. So I turned pro in 2014. And I didn't use it really probably, and maybe until 2017, 18. And even then, like I was, you know, I couldn't afford to take a shit ton of it. And I was using like underground GH, like, you know, I wasn't like getting into like, you know, using good GH, or maybe it was good. I don't know. I mean, who fucking knows? But I was kind of like in the 3 to 4 units a day and like what I was like palatable from a financial perspective when I was starting off and like not making money. And then I had like years where I was like, I would do that for maybe a year, an off season or one prep. And then I like wouldn't use it for 8 months. You know what I mean? It was like, I'd put it in during an off season or put it in during a prep. And then like the prep would end and it would go into the off season. I just like never put it back in. You know, so yeah, I mean, it was kind of like on and off for like the years where I started to get into my like more competitive nature. Like when I started to place higher, then I'm like, okay, I should add this in, so I was already starting to do good. And I'm like, okay, I'm at this level now. I got to be more serious and take all the tools needed to be a good bodybuilder. So then I started to get a little more consistent with it. So like for the first while, it was probably, in that 4-unit range on average, I'd say. And then when I started to, obviously do well at the Olympia and I started to make good money from contracts and shit like that, then I probably would average about 6 units. And I kind of stayed there for the most time. I mean, I've had a couple, preps here and there where I'm like, yeah, I got a little bit extra here. I'll, bump it up to 8 units or something for a fucking month or whatever. But I would say average, it was like probably 6 units for those years between 2019, 2020, and when I retired in 23. So, I mean, you're talking about 3-4 years of like an average of 6 units with the odd, cycle where it might be a little more. And then a couple years of like an average of maybe 4 units on and off before that. So, it wasn't like something that I was ever like super crazy on. And maybe it's because I don't know, maybe it's just me. I never noticed it being something that was like super game changing in my physique. Mm-hmm. So like, it was one of those things that sometimes I found like hard to rationalize in my head. Maybe my GH is bad. Who knows? But it was never like, like you take fucking 500 milligrams of test, you could fucking see the goddamn difference, where like I'm spending fucking 3x that on GH to notice like so minimal. Obviously when you get to a point in your career, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm fighting to be one of the best bodybuilders in the world. I need these tools in my arsenal. So then it kind of just, became part of the routine. But yeah.
I feel like GH recently I've been feeling more like GH is one of those things that's like negligible increases in your progress with like titrating up doses higher.
Yeah.
It's like you add it in and it's a good substantial difference if say that your like IGF-1 production naturally is just low in general, both localized and systemic.
Yeah.
And at least hopefully that should help with your like recovery in general. I don't know, skin, fucking hair, whatever the fuck. But then like if you keep titrating up doses higher and higher, there's not really any substantial gains into both fat loss and just muscle gain in general, but just because of the fact that there is an effect negatively on insulin resistance as well. So it's just like I feel like the gains aren't that much crazier. Like if you do 4 units, for example, before bed, then that's going to help like better than doing nothing at all. But then doing anything crazier than that, and especially if you're doing it regularly multiple times a day and then year round all the time, I feel like it actually starts to hurt you at a certain point in regards to insulin resistance. Yeah. I don't know.
Is that your mic making sound or is that mine? Like some kind of crunchy sound was going there, but I think it's good.
This?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like comes off as like a in my mic. But I was like, is that me?
I need to buy a new chair. I've been sitting on this chair for podcasts for like a couple of years now or something. I need to buy a new one.
Yeah. That's funny.
Interesting. How frequently would you inject a GH per day?
I've tried it kind of all sorts of ways. I've done it where I did 1 unit 6 times a day. I've done it where I did
1 unit 6 times a day.
Yeah, I've tried it all.
Wait. What did you do that? Like which 6 times
between each meal kind of thing. So I do it like when I wake up fasted between meal 1 and 2 I kind of do it like that. Cause there was, some point, like I remember reading or hearing someone talking about, like GH pulsing and like keeping it like mildly elevated all the time being valuable. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, if I can try it, see if I notice a difference. I've done 2 units 3 times a day. I've done 6 units all at once. I've done fucking 4 and 2. I've kind of tried it all. And I don't know if I noticed much of a huge difference in all the, the modalities of ways to do it. I have a bit in now and I'm just doing it all before bed. So I'm like, easy, do it all then. I mean, like, not worried about it, Yeah.
Damn, man, I wish we had more anecdotal evidence on like differences people notice, but there's like zero.
Yeah, I know. I've never really noticed much of a difference in the ways that I did it. Like it's, I could see the argument for like insulin sensitivity, blood glucose, stuff like that with, doing it all in the morning versus all at night, and stuff like that. But in terms of the actual just like progress rendered, I never noticed like a big difference,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only differences, or actually the only substantial anecdotal evidence I've noticed in terms of like how people are utilizing GH and how it's affected them in their progress has been one, Patrick and then Dom Super Slice working with Stanimal, where Stanimal was doing injections 3 times a day of GH. I think anywhere from like 6 to 12 units a day year round for like 2 years. And then that kind of exacerbated his risk, probably ended up getting him type 1 diabetes sooner. His his brother has type 1 diabetes and got it when he was like 18 years old. So I guess they're both genetics, or it's both in their genetics as according to Dom, which is kind of crazy because normally you would think it would be type 2. But yeah, and then because of that, he's had to be on insulin since then, and obviously now has diabetes and affected his insulin resistance in such a bad way, affected his progress, his look, and all sorts of really bad ways. And then the other one is Joe Palacios. He said that he gained the most weight, the 20 pounds of like lean muscle tissue in his stage weight when the year that he like ran out of GH and wasn't able to buy more, but was running insulin at that time. So technically
so
insulin,
using insulin, but no GH.
Yeah, but no GH for a period of time.
Okay.
Which was funny because when I brought it up with Justin Compton, he was like, wait, he never told me that.
He's like, I didn't fucking know. What
the fuck? Joe also, which probably does help because I've had some comments also state that they believe this is the most optimal, but Joe just does his whole bolus dose before bed like you are right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. Yeah,
that's, I mean, and I was kind of, the information I gathered was that's like least invasive to, to blood glucose and stuff like that. So I'm like, I'll fucking do it then. It's, I don't want to have to worry about fucking shooting it multiple times a day and shit. So I'm like, I'll just do the fucking whole thing right before bed and it seems to be fine.
Yeah. Interesting. How do you feel about insulin with because I don't know. I just think it's kind of cool that even though you had digestive problems, like you just were able to keep your gut pretty damn tight your whole career. Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, there's definitely a big element of luck in there. Obviously, I also do, I'm only 5'9", 5'10", but I feel like I have like long proportions in some ways. So I also have like a pretty long like torso and like longer legs and stuff. So like I feel like there was more space maybe. You see some guys obviously like, like a Nick Walker, guys that have like, it has less space. So like, where does everything grows? It kind of has to go. So, I definitely, you don't see as many 6-foot guys. Like you're not going to see Samson or Andrew, like all of a sudden have fucking super wide, like it does happen, but it's less common than guys that are obviously shorter. So I definitely, part of that. And like I said, a lot of that's just going to be an element of luck of that. It just fucking didn't get bigger on me,
Yeah. Did you utilize a lot of insulin during your competitive seasons?
No, not crazy. Like I definitely had periods where I used it. But like I was never like the capacity that I used it was kind of like a, 6 units post workout kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've never done like the, what's the long, like Lantis or any of those like long ones where you're like doing it and keeping them elevated throughout the day. I've never done those. I've usually was just like a Humalog post workout, maybe pre and post. I didn't love doing it pre because like I said, when my stomach, my digestion wasn't great and you're eating that much food to have to drink fucking a bunch of carbs during training and then have a post workout shake too, which we're taking insulin. So it was just like a lot for my stomach to handle. And then I find I'd have to wait 2 hours to be able to eat my fucking post workout meal because my stomach was so fucked up from all the carbs I was drinking.
Yeah.
Dog's barking. So yeah, I mean, I really was just doing it like in the moderate capacity, whatever, 6 units, 8 units kind of thing post workout. And that was really like the most of what I did. And it was kind of like on and off. Like I'd use it here during prep. Once in a while, Patrick would put it in maybe like on a day that was something we'd want to improve, like on a fucking chest day or something. We'd toss a little bit in here and there. But that was kind of the way we operated it. So it wasn't like a all year, all the time, or using it in like a, all day capacity with like those long acting ones.
Yeah. I kind of like the way that Patrick uses it. And I feel like it was beneficial for me too. It was like, I mean, obviously we started really low for our first year together. It was 2 units pre and 2 units post. And then when I told him I have IGF-1 LR3 from Transplant, we just did the IGF-1 pre and then we did 2 units post, which I liked better. And I feel like it really, I mean, people just keep asking me like what Patrick's plan was with like my leg growth and how I grew my legs. The primary thing I really do believe was definitely the training. Like my training frequency and my training volume changed substantially from when I wasn't growing my legs very well. But I mean, I did feel some juicy fucking pumps from doing that shit on the leg days.
For sure. Yeah.
So I don't know. Plus, it definitely helped with shuttling the carbs better and probably my insulin resistance in the long run, giving my pancreas a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
I listened to your YouTube video, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that didn't get a chance, but You mentioned your cycle in your YouTube video, and is that what you're still running right now, or has it changed it? Yeah.
Nope,
what is it again?
300 test, 400 mast, and 6 units of GH is what I'm taking now.
That's a nice, cute little cycle.
I mean, look, like I said, I was starting from such a fresh state. I was like, let's try this as low as possible and see if, like, because I was still 255, like a decent amount of muscle. I'm like, let's see if I'm able to grow all that. And if I can, great. If I can't, okay, well, then I'll bump up a little until I start to, render the progress that I want.
Yeah.
So I started there and things have been responding pretty well, at least for now. Like, obviously, do I think I'm going to be able to be 285 fucking in like decent condition and like I was at my biggest taking that amount of drugs? Obviously not. I mean, if that was the case, everyone would do that. So I'm not like, naive to the fact that I think I'm going to have to sit here forever, or that I could sit here forever and continually make progress to be a top level bodybuilder. Obviously not. But like, because the state I was coming from being off everything for so long, I was like, that fresh receptor in your head, you're like, I'll try it low and just like kind of see how I feel. And things have been progressing pretty well. So I'm like, like there'll be a point where I have to start bumping things up a little. I bump the test up, 100 milligrams, bump the mast up a little bit. I'll start to, edge those up a little bit to kind of keep things moving as I want to move them. But for now, I mean, I'm like a month in, not even. So it's definitely working for now, for sure. Yeah.
I think that's what I'm going to do too. Whenever I jump back on cycle, I think I have 4 weeks left of the health phase. And then I'm just going to because I've been fucking deflating, right? Like doing this fucking 150, 160 milligrams of tests and then fucking getting my damn hair transplant so I couldn't lift for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Dude, literally you see your muscles deflating and you just look like this fucking small flat water bag.
Dude, tell me about it. I was off everything, even TRT, for like 2.5 years. Like there was times, like I had a while where I was like, I felt like I didn't even work out. Like when I would look at myself, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like when I wasn't being super serious with my diet, and I was training, but like, and there was the phase when I was doing the running and stuff where I, definitely lost a bit of muscle and I was off everything there too. It's like, there was points where I'm like, fuck bro, like this is rough,
Yeah.
It's like, it's not even like the amount of muscle I had. It's just like the look. It's like, like you just don't have, like, your shoulders get way less round. So like you kind of look a little square now, like you don't have the volumization from those like nice full fucking androgen receptor shoulders. And, it just is like a look that's like very like meh, and it was like your body fat, like it's so hard, especially at that body weight, like 255 with nothing. It's like, you got to have to run that line of like, okay, I'm going to have a little more body fat to, keep my weight up and try and keep my strength and fight for it. Which, I mean, I don't think it was productive, but it made me feel big in clothes, which maybe psychosomatically made me feel like more of a bodybuilder, I'm like, I'm still 255. I'm still jacked, but I'm like fucking 25% body fat,
The thing that hurts me is when you just start looking 2D. It's not about like just like how thick your arm is this way.
No,
it's
that's
like
what I'm saying.
when
It's
you
like
look at it this way, it's like a paper. It's like fucking
thin.
paper thin,
it's like
dude.
Thin, yeah. And I didn't like that, especially like I was a guy that like at my best in bodybuilding, I was very like thick, like front to back. Like I was a very like big person,
Yeah.
So then I'm like, I'm seeing myself, like I stand sideways in the mirror. I'm like, bro, I'm so small. What the fuck? But it's like, it's such nonsense. Cause like, I'm still 255 pounds, like 5'9", I'm still fucking huge, obviously. But like comparatively, it's not the same. Like the 255, like of a natural look like that versus an enhanced is still a very different look,
Yeah, for sure.
And people were saying that's like, even when I'm like, I'm 255, I'm still pushing strong weight on Instagram, and people are seeing it like, oh dude, you could still compete. I'm like, look, man, there's still aspects of this that have a shimmer of hope from my strength and my weight on the scale and what I look like in clothes. But like, I can tell you underneath this is not a top level bodybuilder. It's very different, like I still look good, all things considered, for sure. I'll put, the feather in my cap for that. But there's definitely a fucking difference,
Yeah. Being natty's gay.
Yeah.
Do you, I love hearing this though, about like you titrating it up slowly. I feel like, this is something that Chris Tuttle would do with, like, that's kind of like the same method that he took with Jordan Hutchinson, but Jordan Hutchinson blew up is, they had so much time off of PEDs. Jordan was getting his gyno surgery. And then when they went back on, it was like very minimal dose cycles, like 300 tests, for example, and then something else added on top of that. And then when they would see the progress start to plateau, they would titrate that up and then titrate it up slowly. But I mean, the progress just kept going for him. And that's what was so substantial. Was the long-term gains.
Yep. Yeah. And like I said, I feel like I have this opportunity to do this now because I'm coming from such a layoff, like, obviously before when you're kind of in that, like, you get in that normal routine of like, this is kind of the doses I run in the off season. This is kind of the doses I run in prep. You get into an off season, you kind of do your thing. And like in your mind mentally, and I probably couldn't at that point from what my body was used to using, wouldn't have been making progress on what I'm using now. But because I'm coming from like such a fresh slate from so much time off from that, I'm like, hey, if there's any time I can like, make some good progress from being as minimally invasive as possible, now's the time. And then like I can have the opportunity to really just, like you said, titrate up slowly and kind of use that in minimal changes to kind of control my progress as needed, along with my nutrition and my training, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I wanted to ask this earlier. How was the fertility journey?
Good. I mean, it was long for sure. Like, fuck, man. I mean, that was like 2.5 years of just trying to get my fucking sperm count high enough to fucking freeze some. Like, it was fucking brutal. But no, I've got now like enough frozen to have fucking 100,000 kids. So like I'm good now on that front. So like I just froze a bunch, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, we knew the IVF process was kind of the reality for us. Like, maybe I would have got my count high enough that we would have had decent odds of conception, but we kind of like accepted the reality that that's the process we were going to go through. So once I got my count good enough that like I had a good amount that I could freeze, to use for the IVF process, I was like, all right, fucking freeze it. And I did a couple times of freezing it. So I got enough bank there, and then I'm like, I'm good,
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a dumbass when it comes to the following, but I was joking with someone about how like it better be a fucking son, and then they were like, just do IVF. Is that like?
You can, like technically they would know. I guess really how it works. I don't know if in Canada you can do that. I don't know if they allow you to do that. But yeah, technically you could select what you want. The thing is with the whole process, you're usually just selecting what is the healthiest, like the healthiest sperm, the healthiest egg, making the healthiest embryo. Like you're kind of just like whatever is the best one with the best odds of conception. You're just taking that. Like, let's say, I don't think in Canada you're allowed to do this, but let's say you were, if you had 4 healthy embryos that were all equally as healthy, and you had 2 that are guy and 2 that are female, you could technically pick which one you implant. So I guess so, yes. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm not sure about that. I for some reason, I think in Canada, through the IVF clinics here, you're not allowed to do that. I think they just like kind of do their own selection process, and they, take whatever is the most viable, healthy embryo, right? Yeah.
Not allowed. The hell is this shit?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm going to stay in America.
Canadian bullshit, I could be wrong, though. Let me ask, one sec. Bob, in Canada, are you allowed to choose male or female when you do IVF? It's like, it's not allowed in Canada. In the US, you can, though.
Why? What the hell? What the hell? Why? That's so weird. She said
in Canada, you can't, but in the US, you can, yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah.
This is why
I'm interested to see, though, because, with bodybuilders, like so many bodybuilders, especially when they're using anabolics or even when they're like still big, they almost all have girls,
Yeah.
Like all bodybuilders have girls. And I don't know exactly what the correlation is, if it's a temperature thing or an androgen thing or something, but whatever it is, highly correlates to more muscular people with higher core body temperatures, with more muscle mass, having a higher propensity of female children. So I'm interested to see like that I was off for so long, if that's going to have swayed the scales at all, if like I would have, but like I said, I'm doing IVF, but it's not going to matter, but maybe all my healthy sperm and all the healthy embryos will be male ones. I don't fucking know. But I mean, I don't give a shit either way, but I'm interested to see. Cause like, you look at bodybuilders, man, they most all have fucking daughters. Like, I mean, who the fuck has sons? Like, I don't know, like barely anyone,
That's what I was wondering about myself, is like, say that when I end up having all sons, what does that say about me?
Yeah. You didn't take enough gear. That's what it is.
God damn it. Patrick.
Up the dose. Can't have any boys.
How frequently are you injecting? Every day. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do a little bit every single day. Just with like I have like these, they're not like, they're a 1cc syringe, like an insulin pin, but they have like where you can screw the needle tip on. So it's not actually an insulin pin. So I don't have to backload them. So I got like 1cc syringes that I can screw on. So I can like screw on a 20 gauge tip and draw. And then I have like a half inch 27 gauge that I inject with. So I'm just doing those ones like in a shallow IM every day. So I just like fucking shoot my quads or my delts or something every day with these little tiny half-inch 27 gauges. Yeah.
That's exactly what I did for, what is it? It's exactly what I do whenever I jump on cycle is use those little screw-ons. They're so nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just easy, man. And it's nice having these versus the slim pins where you're like pop the fucking back off, backload it. And, it's tough to be a little more accurate with your dosing, especially in small amounts. Like I'm doing, when you're doing 400 milligrams of something and you're dividing it daily, it's like, it's such a small amount, So yeah, it's just easy to be accurate with the 1cc tube and with those kind of pins, not having to backload it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and then before I take like a picture of like my, like do like a leg day content or some shit, normally just inject to the leg, and I feel like it's a little pointier. It's nice.
Put it in there, fuck it. Yeah,
I was listening to
juicier. Yeah,
I was listening to one of y'all's bro chat podcasts like the other week, and you guys were talking about injection oils like PP. I don't know, was it PPO? Is that what you're called? All the different types of like oils.
Oh, the PMMA.
Yeah. PMMA. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the Sarah Villalegas, Natalia Coelho, Derek fucking gate,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I gotta be real. I don't know what other people are thinking about. I was listening to that podcast and I think you were like talking about how like literally like all these bodybuilders have taken this shit like literally and you just can't tell. And I could literally feel
especially
myself.
With SEOs, the PMMA, I don't know. I don't think so. I'd never even heard of that until this whole fucking Sarah Villalegas accusing Natalia Coelho thing. But with the SEOs, I'm sure it's probably a lot more rampant than people realize, but a lot of guys just don't do it badly. Like I think there's use and abuse with everything. And you fucking, shoot a shit ton of SEOs and make yourself look wonky. Yeah. I mean, it's going to look fucking like shit, no doubt, but the same thing is if you're doing a bunch of site injections and you're shooting fucking 3 mils of prop in your shoulders every day, I mean, you end up getting fucking some crazy, like bumpy, angular fucking delts, and that shit should absolutely be marked down on stage. Huh?
You guys have absolutely ramped up the amount of research on SEOs after that podcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Everyone's going to be fucking so dick hard for SEOs now. And they're going to be
everyone's asking for a friend.
This is how Rich Piana's arms got this big. I want this, this doctor in Brazil that they're saying that all these people use is going to get more fucking business from this whole debacle than anybody,
Do you know this guy's name? Asking for a friend.
For Francisco? Fernando, maybe. It's some fucking Brazilian name. I think it's Fernando.
Francisco Fernando.
Dr. Fernando, maybe. Yeah, I think that's his name. Some fucking Brazilian guy. But yeah, I think he's the guy that they say is like, that there was pictures of Derek and Natalia with this guy. And that guy that trains Derek, that Brazilian guy, and that they were kind of pictures of them together. So that's how this whole like conspiracy theory of them using this stuff kind of started. Of like, why it was they were saying specifically this stuff and how this stuff got like the name out of PMMA, which I think most of us had never even heard of. I hadn't heard of it. Had you?
Not until you guys talked about it.
Exactly. So like this is kind of like a new thing versus just saying like SEO is like synthol, like the general term that people were using.
Yep.
Because I think that's how it got correlated is like, when Sarah did this digging on Natalia and saw that Natalia and these people were down and in Brazil and had some kind of ties to this fucking Dr. Francisco or whatever the fuck his name is. And then that is where this like whole, conspiracy theory of them using this stuff and that whole thing came apart,
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Plane tickets to Brazil. Got to look that up.
Yeah. If you want to go, I'll do my calves with you. We'll fucking, we'll come back. We'll just be fucking, I'll have Hunter Labrada calves. We'll fucking look sick,
Oh, fire. I like how you think. How's your aromatization with your 100 test 400 mast?
None really. I mean, I feel pretty good. I mean, I haven't done blood work yet to see where my like estradiol is, but I feel good. Like my sex drive feels good. I'm definitely not like water retentive in any way. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like, estrogenic or anything like that. And I also don't feel like suppressed, like the Masteron's like putting me down too hard. Yeah. So like right now I feel like I've got like a good balance of it. So, but honestly, I'll be completely honest. I was a guy that even at my biggest, when I was doing, say 1,500, 2,000 milligrams of shit in the off season, I still would never use AIs. Which sounds crazy. Like I would do 1,000 milligrams of test in off season, and I would never use AIs with that in the off season. Like almost never. Like maybe I was probably getting some kind of estrogenic effects that I really just didn't check. But I kind of just went with the attitude of like, unless I feel I need it, I didn't use it, which maybe is not the good way to go at it. But I didn't want to put AIs in if I didn't feel like, okay, I don't feel overly water retentive. I don't feel like fucking moody or emotional. My sleep's good. I'm not getting gyno, whatever. So I just didn't do them. Like, and obviously I used them during preps. I mean, for the aesthetic reason of trying to get that aromatization low and stay dry. But like in off seasons, man, like I almost never used AIs even with, higher dosed testosterone, like at all. Yeah.
Did you get gyno surgery?
No.
Ever? No?
Dude,
So
no,
it
I've never had even like a hint of like a nodule under my nipple in my life. Yeah.
So
I'm obviously
nipple.
not like a high convert. Yeah. It's all those nipple piercings. I fucking killed the gland with all those fucking nipple piercings, silver linings of the nipple rings, it was worth it,
Holy shit.
But yeah, no, like I never was like experiencing like sides. So I'm like, I don't want to just put it in because, so I never really did. And like, my blood work would be good. And even if my estradiol was high, like I didn't really worry about it too much unless I was experiencing something. So I kind of just saved them and only used them really during preps. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. How high would you be running your DHT during that time when you were doing like a gamma test?
Like from a blood work perspective?
Well, no, like how high would you be running like your like DHT derived steroids or like mass primo EQ?
Honestly, I didn't use much of those in my off seasons back then. Like I feel like that's like kind of a newer thing. Like the mass primo and now EQ thing is kind of like a newer off season fad. I came from like the era of like the NPP, DECA, like that kind of shit. Like, so most of my off seasons would usually be tested NPP. Like that's kind of what I did 90% of my off seasons, I would say.
Okay.
Like 800 to 1100 milligrams a test, 1000 milligrams a test, like 500 milligrams of NPP was kind of like my standard off season, with a little bit of GH in there those last years. That was kind of like my standard off season cycle. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'd be in that, 400 to 600 milligram range of like something like an NPP,
Damn,
so I wasn't usually using much of like the mast. I think I maybe did one off season in my whole life using Masteron. I never really used Primabol much. I have just like a mistrust for Primabol and that it's all fake for some reason. In my head, I'm like, all Primo's fake. I don't want to use it, So I never really used much of that. And yeah, I definitely used Mast one off season, but I think it was only the one. And it was usually just the NPP was what I was using and then test. Yeah.
That's fucking magical that you just had no issues. Your aromatization it's like,
I know. But like I said, like I've never had like even a hint of like a nodule of gyno, like nothing in my life, So yeah, I've just got lucky with that one.
Should have fucking got nipple piercings, would have been way cheaper.
Yeah, that's it. Just fucking keep piercing them until the gyno goes away,
Why choose Mast now then?
I mean, just because I didn't, like it's try something different. This seems to be like the cool fad nowadays is like the mask thing,
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I'll fucking try it out. And, and obviously it's, a little safer, whatever that fucking means, like less harsh from a chemical component standpoint. And I didn't want to like
toxicity than NPP for sure.
Exactly. So like I didn't want to jump into anything like too crazy. So I'm like, you know what? Seems like a good way to start. And I never really done a growth phase using that. So I was like, oh, try pop it in, see how it works,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I will be following along and watching the YouTubes.
Yeah.
You got a good source? Asking for a friend.
Oh, it's all gone now, man. Did you know? So I'll have to switch to something else. I guess EQ is what everybody's using now, right? That's like the new, instead of, once the Primo and Mast went, then the EQ is the new one. So
right, EQ and ketamine get you a horse
ketamine,
legs.
that's it. Yeah. Get your injectable Winstrol and test suspension with it too.
Oh yes,
just source everything from your vet. Yeah.
After Evan Centopani was talking about it on my podcast, I'm sure injectable Winstrol sales are going to go up for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day when they had the EQ, like the Equigan or whatever it was, the veterinary stuff. It was like 50 milligrams per mil. Like imagine how much if you want to run like a good dose by like today's standards, it's like, yeah, I want to run 400 milligrams, 500 milligrams of fucking EQ. It's like you're shooting fucking like 7 mils a week of this shit. Like what the fuck?
Holy shit. Straight to my quads, right in the middle.
Right in there. Yeah.
Sweep.
Fucking, there you go.
All right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, the whole aromatization thing is definitely blowing my mind.
Do you find you aromatize at like a high level? Like if you don't take AIs, you like notice it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't have to take AIs, but that's always because I have my I always have like my primo at like just 100 less than my test. So
Okay,
like say that I'm running like this last off season, I was running 600 tests, primo was 500.
Yeah.
I'm sure mass would be pretty damn similar as well. Or I don't know what EQ would be, but you get the point. And then there's other guys like, Darren Farrell, who, who works under, J3U that has to do like 200 to 300 tests and then like 1200 of like primo or mass.
I was just gonna say, I've seen some of these guys do like 300 tests, like 2 grams of Masteron, Yeah. Like I've seen some of these cycles. I'm like, that's fucking crazy, man. You know?
And then if they don't, then they get creamy. They get creamy aromatization. Yeah.
Fucking just
comes right out the nipple.
Squirting out the fucking nipples.
Yeah. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. That seems like it would be so suppressive to me, like that fucking much mass with that little test.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Same. It would be for me too, but I do know like a lot of people, like there's a crazy variance on how much you aromatize. Like I had my best friend Ryan that passed away like several years ago. He had that like prolactin. I don't know if it was prolactinemia. He had some kind of like prolactin issues where he would like cream out of his fucking nipples and shit.
Yeah.
Even though he was like the most masculine dude I knew. And fucking like dude was like, his voice was so low, tattooed himself in prison, tattooed himself a bow tie on his dick in prison. So we were at this party and like girls were asking, it would be like a cool opener. You'd just be like, yeah, I got a bow tie on my dick. Literally these girls would ask if they could see it. It was a Halloween party. So we just like let them see it. And all 3 of them gave his bow tie a kiss. No shit. You guys should not marry any of these girls.
That's a good fucking party trick. You need to fucking get a bow tie tattooed on your dick,
It's a great party trick.
Good icebreaker. Hey, I'm Iain. I got a bow tie on my dick,
But anyways, yeah, dude, like, especially so when he would start running trend and stuff, it just exacerbated like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, we've all seen those guys. I mean, the kind of guys that like do their first cycle of like fucking 200 milligrams of test and their fucking gynos, like, holding so much water. Their face is huge. Like, you see these guys that, are obviously high aromatizers for sure. But I mean, I guess I was just on the lower end of that spectrum where I never really had any significant issues with it,
Just close that shit up with a piercing.
Even going into shows, like, I could be pretty fucking dry and not really need to go crazy with the AIs, like to get a super hard dry look. Like I didn't need to like crank myself down with fucking, like 2 milligrams a day of Arimidex to get myself like super dry. Like I'm definitely a drier guy that doesn't hold a lot of water naturally. I definitely moved through that process pretty well. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely been lucky in that sense for sure. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
How do you feel like this? How do you feel like the cycle might change as you progress? What do you think it's going to look like here on out?
I honestly have no idea. I mean, it really just depends how things continue to progress, and how I continue to feel. Like it probably will stay with the same compounds as long as I can, and just like slowly, like we said, titrate those up. But obviously I want to do that as little as possible to try and get as much out of it as possible. So I'm going to try and like make sure that all the other avenues are, in check 100% before I make that as the change. So it's like, okay, where I'm at with my training, where's my nutrition? If I'm increasing my nutrition, I'm starting to notice a bit of body fat gain or whatever, then we notice that might be the next thing to increase in the spectrum. But yeah, I mean, I honestly have no idea, man. So it's so hard to say, like, in a year from now, I mean, I'd like to hope I could, keep making good progress with as little as possible, but you never know. I mean, it's fucking so hard to tell, right?
Right. I know that you were saying that you're more health conscious right now, though. Do you feel like there's going to be a cap on the dosages that you put for yourself, or is it just
I mean, for sure. I mean, but there always has to be mentally somewhere. Like even when I'm competing as a pro, like, even if the cap is different, there's still a cap, like if not, we would all just be running fucking 30 grams a year. It's like, man, keep adding. Like there has to be a mental cap for everyone somewhere. So yeah, but I don't know where that is right now. Obviously I'm 35. I want to make that an emphasis, and being health conscious with this and as much as you can be being a bodybuilder, obviously, carrying heavier body weights and using anabolics obviously always has its risks.
Right.
But like I said, I have the opportunity to kind of start from not the ground up, but like from a lot different place than I was continually in for so long while I was competing. That, I have a bit of an opportunity to try and like start from scratch and try and maintain things. And I don't have any rush of a time frame on me right now, which is nice too. Like when I was competing, it felt like I kind of want to compete every year. I want to get to the Olympia every year, So it's like, it's always kind of one to the next and to the next. But like, if I need to, do this process slowly over 2 years, 18 months, whatever, I mean, so be it. I'm like, I'm not in a rush of like, okay, I need to get back on stage with my fucking Texas Pro this year. Like, I'm not setting that like expectation on myself. It's really just like one of those things that I'm really just going intuition based and kind of by how I feel and how I look and how I mentally feel, how my like feedback is in my life, how my sleep is, how my attitude is, how like my relationships are, and kind of just like, going by feel on those things and kind of, adjusting on the fly as I need to. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how this era is just a lot more smart and honestly conscious about this stuff these days. I saw a comment on your YouTube video saying that they believe that, and it was like one of the top voted comments, that they truly believe that you're going to look better, that you're titrating up doses even lower than you were in the past. And
yeah, I mean, I honestly have no idea. And I had this conversation with Milos. I did the Olympia TV a couple months back, a month or two back, with them, and we were talking off the air after the podcast was done. He was kind of asking me about this because this is before I decided to do it, but he was asking me like, "What are you thinking with it?" And I kind of said, and he was like, "I think you're going to look better." He's like, because I said, I'm like, "Look, I don't ever think I'm going to be as good as I was." Blah 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 blah. He's like, honestly, he's like, "I think you could be better." And I'm not saying that expectation on myself. I have no idea. I'm just going into everything kind of with an open mind of like, enjoy the experience, enjoy the training, not letting myself succumb to, those pressures that I felt before. Because one of the advantages I have now is in this whole thing is that I've experienced life on the other side of a bodybuilding career. Like that's one of your fears as a bodybuilder is like, when I retire and I'm not competing anymore, like this whole world is over for me. Like I'm not going to be able to have my contracts and make money and blah, blah, blah. And like all these things, you're scared it's just going to like disappear from you and that people aren't going to care about you and that like your relevancy is going to disappear. And I've done it now and it didn't change. So that I'm like, okay, there's always that like safety and like that like peace in the back of my mind of like, hey, whenever I decide to, compete, not compete, whatever. And whenever I decide to move back out of this again, I know what that season of life after bodybuilding is like, and I know it's safe. I know it's fine. I know I'm happy there. So that gives you like a lot of like a semblance of peace, like knowing that you experience probably one of the most scary parts for a lot of bodybuilders is stepping away from it,
Right. Yeah. That's got to make your look better on stage. Just less stress overall.
Yeah. I mean, when you're not stressing about that. And like I said, like I'm also not trying to like, none of this would ever be under the guise of like trying to like scratch an itch I didn't scratch of like, I really want to make a first call at the Olympia. I really want to win 2 more shows, or I want, it's like none of that is like in my mind where I'm setting this like pressures of like things that I want to accomplish, other than I want to try and do this smart. I want to try and do it and have fun. I want to try and do it a bit differently, be as health conscious as possible, be a little bit different in some of the methodical approaches that I take, like we talked prior, and just kind of see what that renders at the end of this. And if it, like I said, if it ends up being a physique that I think could do good at bodybuilding shows, great, cool,
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's still that Milo said that too. I have a freaking podcast with, I'm going to go on the IFBB AMA with Chris Tuttle and Milos tomorrow. I'm fucking like I was just like, why?
I'm actually going on the podcast with Tuttle tomorrow too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, how many fucking...
Him and his wife. I'm doing one with him and Alexia tomorrow afternoon, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's sick. What the hell?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He was just messaging me, and I'm just like, I'm excited. And he's like, yeah, it's going to be a good one. Milos is impressed. And I'm like, what the fuck is Milos impressed with? I haven't done anything. Literally haven't done shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't understand, but I don't know. I'm a big fan.
What's your plan? So you're just starting into your off season now, or what? Because you said you took a little break.
Yeah, I'm 4 weeks left in the health phase. I did decide to just drop to just HCG and just do no tests for like a few weeks. And Obviously when I got my test tested, I was at 191 total test, which was fantastic.
I had one where I did mine at one point. Like with the HCG in while I was doing it, if I did enough HCG, I was actually able to keep my test levels in a pretty good range with like the HCG and the FSH. Like I actually stayed between 650 and 900 nanograms. Like I was staying actually pretty good with no tests. Like it was pretty good. But I remember I went to the Olympia, was this a year ago not this past Olympia, but the one before. Mm-hmm. And I'd done a bike trip. Me and Fouad had done a bike trip in California that year as well. Not this year, not the one that obviously ended, unfortunately, but the year prior we'd done one. So I've been in California for a few days. And then I went from there to the Olympia, and I was at the Olympia for like 8-9 days. We got to Vegas really early. And I left my HCG in California by accident.
No.
So then I had like 8-9 days with like nothing. And I remember then I did blood work with Merrick in Vegas at the end of my trip. And just in that like 8 days, my test levels went from what my last blood work was, I think it was like 840 nanograms. And then when I tested mine at the end of 8 days using no HCG, I was at 99.
What?
It was literally just like,
what? That's insane.
I know, it's crazy. And I could feel it. Like I just felt like flat and small and fucking gay. And like, you know, I just felt like, I just felt like an emotional, like weirdo, you know, like it's just like, I didn't feel good for sure. So I got home and definitely fucking got my routine back on check right after that.
I didn't know it could happen that fast.
Yeah, man. It was like insane. Fucking like less than 2 weeks. Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, you would think that like HCG, like normally HCG is supposed to like yeah, you're going to pulse it and it's going to rise while you're on HCG, but you're supposed to like, it's supposed to stay up there for a little bit.
Yeah, you know? No, I fucking dumped quick, real quick.
That's crazy. Yeah. What the hell? Okay. Yeah. I mean, the most substantial thing I definitely felt was the recovery though, honestly. Like, yeah, I felt a little bit less motivated. I felt a little bit more depressed a few times, but mostly like, dude, I would do a chest day and I wouldn't be recovering for like 5-6 days. I'd be like, what the fuck is this?
I honestly, like I got into a good groove of like my volume and everything like that, where my recovery was good and I felt pretty solid. My strength was in a good place. The biggest thing I noticed too is like, I didn't have a pump for 2 years, you know? Like 0 pumps were had, like ever. Like I could fucking bang 20 milligrams of Cialis and do all the sodium, water, pre-workouts, everything in the world. And it just like never felt the same, you know? It's like the difference you notice in the pumps when you're enhanced versus not is so dramatic, man. Like so it's the difference, like even now, like with how little I'm running and just like being back at it a little bit and my food's not crazy high and like not doing anything like that would make me have insane pumps other than having that back in. And even then, like I train to fucking like do an arm day now and I'm like, oh my God, I feel fucking huge. You know, like the pumps are so much crazier, right? Like,
Oh, juice. Are you doing any like peptides? I know you mentioned like BPC-TB, GHK-Cu, copper.
Yeah, I'm doing those ones. Yeah.
I've been training for over 15 years now and I was too lazy to track anything training wise for about the first 10 years because science-based training's for pussies. But I kept hitting plateaus from burnout, fatigue, joint issues, and injuries, and other factors that at the time I didn't really fully understand, realizing not everyone is built to handle the intense and same workload and injury resilience as Tom Platz and Ronnie Coleman, sad face. I wanted to speed run that shit, but the reality is dudes that have always known their body best are the ones that have been lifting for at least a decade. Shit takes a long ass time to figure out. I started tracking all my training on the Notes app on iPhone because I don't know what paper is. Until recently, I started using the RP Hypertrophy app. The RP Hypertrophy app spoon feeds you step-by-step workouts tailored towards whatever your focus is, or you can customize the workout yourself. Well-educated coaches have always cost $250 to $500 or more a month. I'm paying $500. That's like 10 bottles of testosterone. But if you're not competing or you don't have the money to spend, the app will adjust your program for you every week to maximize your long-term growth. It'll base this on your pump, how fatigued you feel, how your joints feel, and more. It takes in everything into account, none of which I took into account in college because the only accounting I did was counting how many dumpies were in my class. Look, there's a titty. If you don't believe in science-based training, you don't got to do no 3 RIR shit. You can just hoist heavy steel and track it because we all know that the people who say that they remember their weights, sets, and reps every week are full of shit. IMO, there's a sort of middle ground where you track your progress and make sure all the variables are right in your food, sleep, gear, progressive overload, and then you go to the gym and slam those heavy PRs until your blood pressure is higher than Miley Cyrus. If you're still unsure, they've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you still don't like it and it gives you a bad tan, you can get your money back. That way, when you compete at your next show, your tan doesn't cost you the first place that you so well deserve. So go to the link in the description below, or you go to rpstrength.com/Niall and use code Niall at checkout. That's rpstrength.com/Niall, code Niall at checkout. Are there any other peptides, research chems, mitochondrial supports that you're doing, trying, experimenting
Not right
with?
now. No, I just have those in. I'm just doing the 3 of those. Just kind of like keep my body from fucking falling apart, hopefully. And that's all I got in for now. But there's this whole new world of like, you know, fucking research shit, like the peptides and stuff out there that I didn't really delve into too deep. That I would like to take advantage of and try some, you know, some like the fucking MOTCs and epithalons and like all these fucking cool mitochondrial support fucking
yeah.
all these fucking, you know, like anti-aging fucking super things. Like, I definitely am open to trying some of those kind of things, but no, I haven't dove too deep into that world yet. No,
I will tell you, Motzi 5 amino and SS is pretty great. Well, SS31 and SLU. They're pretty fucking great. And I utilize them at the end of prep, and I think the 5 amino definitely helped keep my energy to the place where, like, when I was going to the gym and people would come up to talk to me, I wouldn't just be like, I hate you, and just not
What's
talk.
this one? 5 amino it's called?
5 amino 1MQ. Steve, Vigor Steve, is a big fan of it because it really helps you push. It really helps you continue the fat loss even when you start hitting the plateau, say the last 3 weeks of prep. I felt like it helped me continue on, both energy wise and potentially fat loss wise, even though I was
Did you notice some good fat loss changes with the SLU?
I noticed my body temperature going up, which definitely meant my metabolism was increased. As far as the speed of fat loss, I would say it was about the same, because we were definitely Patrick and I were definitely managing the amount of food I was consuming based off of how quickly I was losing. But I would say that it was definitely, this prep was probably the easiest. I'm going to be gay for a second. My easiest prep I've ever done was when I did it with Lexi, because we were doing it together.
Yeah, of course. I know that. I know that feel. I've done those for sure. Yeah.
I'm glad. But aside from that, in terms of just like the diet wise and overall how hard I was grinding in terms of like my appetite and my diet, I hate to say it, but having the GLP and then having these on top made it the least stressful. Yeah. Psychologically stressful on me. Yeah. I'd say. Have
you used any of the GLPs in an off-season setting?
Right now I am still on Retta because I'm trying to stay as lean as possible during this health phase. So that way I'm like as insulin sensitive as possible by the time I jump back on. And I am doing 3 units of GH just at night, but I do still feel like, oh man, I'm on GH, so maybe it's going to affect my insulin sensitivity. Might as well be on Retta at the same time. I've been doing Retta at like a lower dose, and I do feel like it's helped in terms of even like blood sugar crashes and stuff. I noticed that less. Definitely helps.
I'd like to try and put it into, like, you use it for just that reason, like the blood sugar control, and see if it like evens out my energy and stuff a bit. But I'm just like, I'm so paranoid of anything that might have any potential negative effects on my appetite. I'm like a super sensitive, like I've got my fucking digestion, my stomach and everything feeling so good right now. And I'm like, I just don't want to fuck with it, but I'm also curious to that like avenue of like trying that and seeing the benefits from it. But like, I was even a guy that like, I couldn't take any of those fucking orals in the off season, like the fucking Anadrols or D-balls. Like I'd take 25 milligrams of Anadrol. I wouldn't eat for like a fucking week. Like it fucks me up so bad. So, anything that's like impedes my stomach in any way, I'm just like super, super cautious with. So that's like the one thing in the back of my mind, like, fuck, I'd like to try it and kind of see what benefits I get from it, from a health and blood work standpoint, and also just like energy kind of management standpoint from that blood sugar control. So I'd be interested to try, but like I said, that's the one thing that's like in the back of my mind, of like,
the shit that affected my gut the worst was definitely oral Winstrol. Retta did not affect it nearly as much, but also I would always keep the doses pretty low. I started at 1 milligram, and then by the time I was like weeks in, I titrated up to 2 milligrams. So normally I did about half what people would normally hit on average.
One's pretty low, so
but it made a small effect. But in terms of appetite, normally tirzepatide is the one that has a more pronounced effect on your appetite. So I'd probably try Retta out first. You might feel a little bit of like I don't know, more body temperature changes and also like heart rate changes on Retta, but that's
like, it feels like it's more elevated.
Normally for people more elevated than tirzepatide, or there seems to be a more pronounced effect, but it obviously is still variant per person. So it's worth experimentation. And then
I'll toss a milligram or something in and see what it feels like, I mean, interested to try.
And then I'd say literally, if you're going to do low dose, you'll be fine. The one thing I noticed anecdotally from one of our guests, Dom Super Slice, he said he knew 5 Olympians that went to Olympia, all around 3.5 milligrams of Retta, or at least, and they all had some sort of gut issue and did not come in at their, he said, regardless, there were other variables, but none of them came in at their best. So I would say that, like, if you do feel like just keeping the dose low so you don't have any gut issues, you should be fine. That's what I've been doing, and my gut's been feeling small. Because
I mean, like, worst case, my stomach doesn't do well with it, I'll just take it out. Like it's not that big of a deal. So, but it's curious, because like a lot of these things weren't like commonly used tools or tools at all really in existence. Like even when, by the time I retired in 23, like even Ozempic like wasn't really a thing that was like, any of these GLP-1s weren't popularized, especially into the bodybuilding space. That kind of came slightly after that. So So yeah, I've never really, look, I'm not someone that ever had issues with appetite control. Even in a prep like deep, like I don't mind being hungry. So like it's not necessarily that reason I'd want to try it, but like for the other reasons, like we were talking about, it would be interesting for me to try. Yeah.
Right. What is that word for when you're like, you have like a fear of having every disease or something? Hypochondriac?
Hypochondriac, right?
Yeah. I had a hater that just kept saying that I was a hypochondriac, which probably is probably true. But honestly, like, I think something that I like doing is just, I love microdosing things. Like even since like in 2020 around there, I would always be microdosing like shrooms or microdosing acid low key on like a 3-day rotation. And even doing so, I just felt like really helped my mentality and helped me stay, I don't know, man, it was crazy. It just really helped me stay open-minded and like learn a lot of new things and incorporate them easily, which was pretty fantastic. So even when it comes to things such as like Retta or like SLU or something, I feel like doing things at a very low dose first and then titrating up, I think it just gives you a lot more potential for the benefits without any of the side effects. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I ate mushrooms, I ate like 8 grams in a sitting and I had like the worst trip of all time. It was fucking brutal, dude. My wife had like a birthday party for one of her girlfriends at our house. And there was a bunch of people in our house. And like a lot of them I like didn't really know. And like, wasn't
no way.
super friendly with. And there was a couple of people that were like kind of getting too drunk. That was like a bit rowdy in my house. And like just the anxiety building with this, I could feel. Yeah. And there was like too much mushrooms in me. And I freaked out, dude. Yeah, it was not a good time. Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. That
was like last September, I think. Yeah, it was fucking rough. Yeah.
One of my buddies, like 5 years ago or so, we went on like this cruise where like this DJ was playing. It was a small cruise, like just 3 hours, but he decided to take shrooms for the very first time. Fucking dumbass decision, bro. He was stuck in the basement the entire time, just rocking back and forth in a chair. Like I can't get off this fucking boat.
Yeah. A panic-inducing fucking shroom trip is not a fun place to be,
No, especially when you're stuck on a boat that won't stop moving.
Yeah, exactly. Or stuck in your house with a bunch of people that you don't want in there. Fuck. Yeah.
How do you feel on the GHK-Cu? Do you feel like you've noticed any differences?
Nothing super tangible. I don't know. What do people feel with GHK-Cu? Like, what should I be looking out for?
Dude, that's the thing is like, I want to take it for like my skin, for like whatever. Like
that's kind of why I'm taking it for, like the angiogenesis, the collagen, like stuff like that. Maybe like a bit of anti-aging, like shit like that. So yeah, I mean, I don't feel any different per se. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I know the literature on it, so I'm like, man, I'm optimistic to try and toss it in there. Okay. And I just do that, daily with the TB and the BPC at like kind of like a low dose that I'm just like keeping in, just for like, kind of like I said, like the angiogenesis, like the inflammation, injury prevention, stuff like that.
Yeah.
See how I feel. I mean, especially as I start to like ramp things back up, I know I'm already very strong and I know I'm going to get stronger quickly. And I just don't want to get too strong too quickly and hurt myself. So I'm like, if I can put in anything in there that will aid in like my, tissue integrity, and recovery in that, like after my training and fucking wearing everything down, I'm like, I'll take fucking any little bit of help I can get,
This might be something that you already know or you're already planning, but I would take out the GHK-Cu at like the last 3 to 5 weeks, just so like you can, any benefits to collagen synthesis, just like wipe that shit away. So then your skin, it just gets a little bit more like fucking, what is it?
Yeah. Like before show, you mean?
Nutsack, dry and wrinkly. Yeah. I've always thought about doing the whole little like the Winstrol, like white fish diet, just reduce all collagen synthesis possible. Wait, how do you feel?
I've done a full prep where I was like doing like the, higher Winstrol, like injectable and oral Winstrol, and ate only white fish. And when I say only white fish, I mean only white fish. I eat 0 carbs, literally 0 carbohydrates, 0, no vegetables, no carbs of any kind, white fish only. And did that. And yeah, I mean, it was my first show I ever did. My first show when I was 19. And I was for a first time competitor, I was fucking peeled for sure. Like I was hard,
Okay. So you felt like it actually kind of helped a little.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they helped or the fact that I was eating in a fucking 2,000 calorie deficit helped, but something helped that I got fucking pretty gnarly looking, especially for a first time competitor. I mean, a lot of first time competitors, achieving a high level of conditioning is usually one of the things that you don't quite understand yet, because you just don't, it's all new to you, right? Like you've never seen yourself that lean. So seeing yourself leaner at all, you think you're really lean. It's like you'll see these first time competitors and they're like, I'm peeled. And I'll look at them. I'm like, dude, you're 7 weeks out. Like I know to you, because you've never been lean like this in your life, this is lean to you. But like in the stage of like in the scale of the gradient of conditioning in a bodybuilding show, this still isn't that lean. So yeah, I mean, but for that first show, like I was full, like fucking hard, dry, peeled glutes, like cross-striated quads, like everything for my first show. So, I mean, yeah, whether it was the whitefish or it was the fucking, you know, the Winstrol or the 2 hours of fucking Stairmaster I was doing, or the, you know, 1,000 calories a day only of whitefish. I mean, I don't know what it was, but whatever it did, I got fucking lean. But I went like crazy though. Like mentally, I was so starved. I became like food obsessed, you know, when you get the like food obsession where it's like all you talk about and all you think about and all you fantasize about is fucking food.
Yeah,
like I got like where I was like cooking my family fucking dinners and shit because I just wanted to like be around it, you know, like torturing myself, like weird shit, like fucking right, you know, like shit like that. So yeah, I remember that. That was a fucking hard prep though. Yeah.
I had the weirdest things where like I'd have specific cravings based off of just what macronutrient I was just way too deprived of.
Of course, yeah.
Like fucking fats, I would crave muffins that just like literally like over half of the carb intake is like fat intake. Like you're like a fucking 40 gram carb, like 25 gram fat muffin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Would be craving that shit like crazy.
Yep.
Fucking, what was I gonna? Oh, have you ever had like an allergic reaction at the site from like any research camp peptide or like injection, like GHK-Cu, for example?
Yeah, I've definitely had like the irritation, especially from the GHK-Cu, like where I shoot it, like I get, you know, the sore lumps that might last like 2 days.
Okay. Yeah. Does it ever turn reddish or pinkish?
No, I don't get any redness. It's more just like a little bit of a lump that's like, it feels like a little bit tender. But not really bad. Melissa had a couple pretty nasty ones to the Motzi. She's used it and had a couple where she shot that and she was like fucking scratching, itching like fucking nonstop for like 2-3 days after that. But I haven't used any of that. So I only the TBBBC and the GHK, and the only one I've noticed little bit is from the GHK.
Okay. Yeah. Normally the Motzi and GHK-Cu seem to be the most prominent with those potential like reactions.
So it's not like terrible, but I definitely notice it compared to other things. Yeah, for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. You want to jump on this Q&A real quick? We got a fuck ton of questions that we probably won't go through all of them.
Yeah.
As usual. Sorry, guys. Alex Mrazowski asks, what are your thoughts on tocotrienols for HDL and heart health?
Sorry, what? Say that question again. On what and what?
What are your thoughts on tocotrienols for HDL and heart health?
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
I don't know.
Well, fuck me. Next question.
Steve's talked about these before. I think Tanner's talked about them too, but I don't know. I'm not smart enough.
Tocotrienols?
Yeah.
What is that? How do you spell that? Let me Google that.
Related to sterols or something. I don't know. TOCOTRIENOLS. Tanner's like my autistic smarter brother, so I normally just go to him for this shit.
Powerful antioxidant compounds within the vitamin E family. So, yeah, they have like supplements here that are tocotrienols. I'm not familiar with it. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely should supplement with some vitamin E for sure.
Yeah. I mean, vitamin E. For the antioxidant property, I definitely a proponent of vitamin E. Mm-hmm. I was using a lot of it. That was like a big part too of like my fertility protocol when I was, you know, obviously trying to eliminate like free radical fucking shit and you know, as much antioxidant properties in as I can. You know, like the ubiquinol, CoQ10, the vitamin E, like those are obviously a big part of that whole protocol for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Dean loves that shit too.
Yeah.
Anything Dr. Dean loves, I love.
Yeah.
Because I love Dr. Dean. Shaky13 asks thoughts on hybrid training, running and lifting.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can be like, what's the saying? Like a fucking whatever, but a master of none, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what's that fucking saying again?
Dude, I say this all the time, so I don't know. I forgot.
Blah blah blah, but a master of none. Anyways, that's
something of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you know, look, I don't think you can ever. It depends what your goal is.
Jack of all trades.
If you want to be able to run decent, you know, run well, and be decently strong and run, do I think you can do both at a reasonable level? For sure. If you want to be a good bodybuilder, then be a good bodybuilder. If you want to be good at running, be good at running. You know, but obviously there's, you know, CrossFit and these hybrid athletes that are, you know, pretty great at both. So it depends really what your goal is, like if you want to be good at both, then yeah, I mean, do both. I mean, it's really based off what your personal goals are. But I think, obviously there's a divergence in training styles there. To be the best runner and to be the best weightlifter or bodybuilder require very different things. So, you kind of have to, decide what means more to you, or if it just, you just want to be a kind of good at everything, then I think you can do that too. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Don't do running. You're going to be small. Voice of the Vault asks, what was your mental state each time you committed to achieving gnarly conditioning?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was always like a kind of like a mental competition with myself to try and get it there. And I think because I achieved it so early in my career, it was always kind of something I was known for. Like I was saying, even the first show I ever did, I got like a very high level of conditioning. So I kind of set the standard for myself pretty high, pretty early, and knew that I was capable of that. So it was, my name almost got like associated with good conditioning, it was like Iain is known for conditioning. So I always wanted to, like, to myself, and to the judges and to my competition, always show up as good or better than people expected from a conditioning standpoint. Like I wore that as like kind of like a badge of honor, Mm-hmm. So I always want to ensure that, like, no matter what was going on, at least I was fucking in shape, I might miss my fucking peak and fullness or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm always going to show up in shape. And that was like kind of like a standard for me of something that like I took a pretty high level of pride in. So yeah, I mean, it was just, there was nothing like secretive in my mindset. It was really just, always trying to, like, I knew that I was capable of it and I knew what it took to get to that place, from a conditioning standpoint. And then I knew I'd set the standard high for myself and that I, didn't want to slip on what standard I knew I was capable of achieving. And that I knew it was also something that was responsible for a lot of the success I'd achieved in bodybuilding, like for whatever inferiorities I may have as a bodybuilder, conditioning brought me very far, by always showing up at a pretty high level of conditioning. So, I knew how important it was to my success personally as a bodybuilder. So I always pushed really hard to achieve that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same. Everybody has to grind really hard in the beginning for sure. Yeah. And it's always harder in the beginning, but you just keep going and it gets easier and easier and you get more comfortable and it's like second nature.
And I think I was honestly like kind of lucky in a sense. Like I said, that first prep I did, first show ever, I made that as hard as you could possibly make a prep. Like I was eating zero food, fucking whitefish only, doing tons of cardio. Like it was the hardest prep imaginable. So when I started with that was like my standard for what I thought bodybuilding was, So I thought that this is how hard it was. And when I started working with coaches and realized that, hey, it's actually a lot easier than this to get in good shape, then it was like, it all felt so easy to me at that point. Right. So then getting in really good conditioning never actually felt very hard for me the rest of my career because I started in such a difficult place. And that was just like, I was kind of doing things myself and I just thought that's what it was to get that lean. And for some people it is maybe, but for me, it definitely wasn't. Like, I'm not someone that struggles immensely to get in really good shape, but I think a lot of that is because I set myself in that mindset early of like, okay, I've done it this way. If I can always achieve it no matter what,
Yeah. I think that's what I really feel like every competitor should at least try to do preps without any GLPs first. Yeah. Even just like a couple preps first and just understand what it's like. And then you can implement that and then implement it in a smart way. Like my first preps ever, obviously I did like my first weight. I did 6 shows until I got my pro card. So maybe like the first 3 to 4 natural. And like the first like couple of shows, obviously doing that natural and being so fucking small, like 160 pounds, doing men's physique, bro. I had to diet on 1,000.
Did you turn pro as men's physique?
Yeah. Turn pro in men's physique. Yeah. Halo and Winstrol was the cycle. Fuck no injectables. So dumb. So dumb. Nice. But I got peeled for sure. Yeah, but dude, the first fucking, actually like the first 3 to 4 shows, I had to go to like 1,000 to 1,100 calories in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. And it was miserable, man. I was just eating boxes of spinach and really like literally never felt the mentality of just like, I don't want to be alive/awake. I just want to be able to go to sleep so I can start
everything
eating
feels so hard.
day.
Like you'll be sitting on the couch and you like even need to go to the bathroom, and the idea of like getting off the couch feels like so exhausting, Right. Like, bro, like, no, I can't. I'm just like, can't fucking stay here, like.
I'm trying to think of the biggest memories where I ever felt like I just wish that life would pass faster, but that was probably the main one.
And
I just wish life fast faster.
Pass faster.
Yeah. Jordan Pierre Jackson asked, what were your insulin protocols like at the peak of your career? I think you kind of already answered that earlier. The 6, yeah. Old School B asks, and this kind of goes back to when we were discussing training earlier. What have you found is your sweet spot for working sets per muscle?
I don't know yet. Let me find out and I'll report back to you.
Okay.
We'll do another one 6 months when I've kind of run this gambit and I know. Look, I've had really good success at a wide variety of different amount of training volume throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been a guy that was doing 8 sets in a body part in a week. And because I was so intentional with and got very, very strong, I was still able to make good progress because I still had a metric that was progressing and creating that progressions in there. So I was lucky that my ceiling for strength was high enough that I was able to just keep volume low, but still able to keep getting stronger for a very long period of time that did elicit good progress. And early in my career, I trained very high volume, and that is what turned me into be a pro bodybuilder. And I, had some really good looks early in my career, had a different look than I did later in my career. So, look, I think they can all work. I think that the undertone for all of it is, I think you need to find that limit for yourself. And I think we don't get too married to being, I think now we get married to ideologies, I'm a high volume guy, I'm a low volume guy, but I don't think you need to be anything. I think you can just use the tool and adjust that as needed to get the progress you want to render. Right. So I test people to all kind of do the test for themselves of, be progressive with your volume and use that as a metric of progressions and find what your ceiling is, with where your food is, where your drugs are at, or if you're natural, whatever, and find what your ceiling is, because most people just don't actually know, they're just taking it as okay, this is the way I train, blah, 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 blah. And it can be different for different body parts. Maybe you find that your legs are responding really well to less volume or more volume, or your arms respond really well. For me, I find my arms respond really well to a lot more volume, versus my back, maybe not quite as dramatic, So it really depends, and I think people need to kind of push that envelope of the volume up to the upper echelons and up to their ceiling to know where that limitation is to be able to back off from it. So, don't just set of 20 sets a week or 10 sets a week or 6 sets a week. That's kind of my number, try for yourself. And it might be that for your back, it's 11 sets. And for your fucking shoulders, it's 17 sets. You'll find kind of over time. And those might change in seasons of your life and where the other, facets of your training and diet and drugs are. But I think you kind of need to experiment for that for yourself, Yeah.
So that old magic number again, 7 and 17.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, bro. I would say from the last 3 years of me podcasting and doing bodybuilding, I would say what I've learned is that if you don't want to get your genetics tested, or you don't have the interest, money, or time, everyone should probably have the time, but if you don't, then at least pay attention to where you feel like you excel best. If you seem to excel best at things like powerlifting and just putting up really great numbers, maybe you might be composing more fast twitch fibers, and then experiment in that little range. If you're someone that feels like you can take so much volume, but then you're not that great at things like powerlifting or moving up crazy numbers, even if you've practiced that for a very long time, then maybe try experimenting with things in a higher end of the range compared to the average person in terms of sets, not just reps, but sets more important. Something I learned from my podcast with Dr. Mike, the other week. And I think what we notice is that no matter what, though, even if you do have this area where you excel best, whether it's higher volume compared to the average person or lower volume compared to the average person, as long as you're varying your volume based off of your total allostatic load, that's where your variance is, right? It's if you, for example, if you can take if you have a less allostatic load because now you're less stressed, you know what to do when you're prepping, you and Melissa are pretty damn set, then maybe right now you can take more volume than you could back then in your career where fuck, I need to do this. This has to work.
100%. I
have all of this shit going on. I have to make money. I don't have a settled relationship yet, etc. You know?
No, I agree. 100%.
Ariane Vide asks, after your first show, how did you control hunger?
I didn't. That was the worst rebound I ever had was that first show. And because like I said, I fucking went balls to the walls. Like I was eating no food, such like caloric restriction and such like dietary restriction there. I remember that after that show, I ate like fast food of some sort, at least 4 meals a day for almost 2 weeks straight. So like I would wake up, I'd get like fucking McDonald's breakfast sandwiches on the way to work. I'd eat fucking like Five Guys for lunch. I'd get fucking like Burger King on the way home. I was doing that 3, 4, 5 meals, 3, 4, 5 meals a day for like 2 weeks. I blew up like 50 pounds. I went from like,
holy shit.
I went from like 207 to 260 in like 10 days to 2 weeks. And I was like, I mean, for a couple days, I looked fucking awesome. I was huge, full, fucking so vascular. And then the shit set in. I mean, I ended up getting like fucking gout in my ankles and I was fucking all inflamed and swollen. I felt like shit and blah, blah, blah. It was terrible. So, I mean, that first show, I mean, there were so many lessons learned in that first one of like things I did right and wrong and experienced such like a multitude of things that like set me up, I think, in such a way for success. Like from learning those lessons, like that hard prep and getting that condition from the hardest way possible and then having like the worst rebound possible and like learning, okay, I don't want to do that again. This is what happens on that side and kind of learning to control myself in that regard. So, you know, there was a lot of lessons to learn there, but I think the best answer is, you know, don't go crazy, you know, especially if you push yourself down really hard, you know, be progressive with the food. You know, I found like having the Sunday after the show, I kind of would, you know, let myself do whatever. And then I would kind of get back onto my plan on Monday, just to let like the water clear and get my water balance kind of back. And then, you know, if throughout the week I wanted to have a meal here and there and, you know, go out with Melissa or go out with my family, have something, I would allow myself to, but at least I kind of got back to my routine. Cause I think a lot of this, like guys will fucking get their so many shitty meals in, but then they also go from doing a ton of cardio and prep to no cardio all of a sudden. You know, so it's like I've been doing 2 hours of cardio and the prep's over. I'm doing no cardio, you know, and then they may take a couple of days off training, stuff like this, or their hydration, the amount of water they were doing was like so dialed in. They were like consistent with their fluid intake during a prep. And then it gets a little more lackadaisical after the prep. So I think if you can keep those factors pretty dialed in for the couple of weeks after, you can have a little more freedom. But I think a lot of this also depends on the amount of diuretics you use on a show. If you fucking go ham on the diuretics, you got to be super, super careful in your rebound. You'll blow up like fucking crazy. Cause like I've had shows like New York Pro in 2020, I used 0 diuretics. And like after the show, I could eat whatever the fuck I want. I didn't have like any kind of crazy water rebound. Like I drank 6 liters of water the day of the show. I used no diuretics. Like there's no rebound to be had, you know?
Yeah.
There's no water rebound or like anything. Like my glycogen was already nice and full. Like, you know, I was kind of like just in a normal state of like a full day in prep. And I just kind of like continued out of that. So yeah, I mean, it depends on what kind of factors have gone into achieving the look in prep. So, you know, depending how hard you've pushed it, definitely be careful and mindful when you kind of period out of that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. My boy Grant, I think a lot of people probably know Grant. Grant is the guy who he films for the Trent Twins, but he did a little, you know Grant. Grant did a little experiment with Phil Viz right after his last show. He decided to do a 10,000 calorie challenge after his show. So what Phil did was he continued to limit his water in the same way that they did kind of like during the prep and peak week, not the prep, just the peak week. And Grant didn't gain any weight.
None, eh?
None.
It's crazy how much power the water has, especially when you pair it with like the food and stuff like that. And especially, like I said, if you're using the diuretics and correlation during that prep. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting way to do it though.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot what else I was going to say. Correlate Nutrition asks, when you competed, did prioritizing bodybuilding cause conflict with you and your wife?
No, not with my wife. No, I mean, not really in my life. I started bodybuilding so young. And it was kind of like a career choice I made so early on in life, like from 19 basically onwards, that was like, this is my life, you know? And I kind of was like pretty steadfast in that. And there was really no wavering in that process.
Yep.
You know, like most people in my life had like got a pretty firm understanding. And I always had like good support from my friends and my family. And, you know, when I met Melissa and kind of like when we started, like, you know, and you have to also remember, for a lot of that time, Melissa was an Olympia level competitor. You know, like Melissa's, you know, won pro shows and fucking competed at the Olympia. Like Melissa was a fucking high level competitor. And also her brother is fucking Chris Bumstead. Like, I mean, you know, this was our family, like dynamic was very situated around competing. And I had started from such a young age. Chris started from a young age. And, you know, Melissa started competing kind of in correlation to that as well. So, So no, not really. I mean, like you said, even like some of your best preps are those ones that you're doing together. You know, like obviously there's been periods of my life where bodybuilding was affecting me negatively in a really tough way. Like, especially like before I retired, I was having mentally a really tough time with like kind of what I wanted to do and how I was feeling about bodybuilding. Like those feelings were very like hard for me to like deal with, and coming to terms with like maybe I needed to step away. You know, like mentally it was tough. Like I was in a fucking funk and a half and like super depressed and anxious and shit like this. And obviously, you know, she's extremely supportive and like really helped me in every way you possibly can. But when you're in that place in your life and mentally, it obviously has implications on how happy a relationship can be, right? Like it's just unavoidable. You know, despite her best efforts, like I just wasn't the person I needed to be a good partner at that point. But you know, that's a time and you work through it and you come out on the other side better and stronger because of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guys had such an awesome family dynamic, by the way. I've been like a fan, just checking off this bodybuilding.
I'm definitely very
family.
lucky. I'm definitely very lucky and like blessed to have had kind of the, you know, the family dynamic and situation that we kind of fell into here between me, Chris, and Melissa, and like, you know, like having some of those memories and experiences, like, you know, doing Olympia is like all three of us together, you know, like all staying in one house, you know, all doing the Olympia together. I'm prepping them and I'm doing my first Olympia. And like, there's just so many like cool things that we got to experience together that, you know, definitely at the time I took for granted, but like looking for them now in hindsight, you know, it's like, fuck, that was cool as shit. Like that we got to do this stuff. Like, you know, think of I mean, I don't know of anyone really that's had that kind of family dynamic all at that level at the same time and kind of, you know, where we were all kind of part of it. And I was coaching them, and it was just like such an interesting dynamic, and, you know, who Chris ended up kind of becoming in his life and his career and just like the whole thing. It's like, I look back and I'm like, what a fucking crazy situation we were in, you know, like.
Yeah. I had a different experience. Aside from when we did it together, I would say I'm more a proponent of you guys doing it together rather than doing it separately or apart. But like, if you do it apart, like, because in my situation, one of my situations was like, my partner did not feel like I was fun anymore, or like that we could do things like be spontaneous, go on trips, do all of this, because my lifestyle was so fucking monotonous that it just made the relationship look like it just wasn't it anymore. It just didn't look like it was good enough. I would say that if you do have a partner, or if you're still choosing a partner, you got to make sure, like, I think the most important part is the level of maturity, and like that this partner is able to reflect on the relationship in a conscious way, where they're not just like, oh, it's the relationship's fault. It's because I understand this person's.
They're not taking it personally. Yeah. And I've been through this. I mean, the relationship I had before Melissa, when I just started competing, you know, because Melissa and I have been together since 2021 to 2012, 2011, 12, 2012. You know, so I had a girlfriend before that. And because of bodybuilding was kind of like, look, it was a relationship destined for failure anyways, but bodybuilding was definitely like the spark that lit the fire on that one. You know, when I did that first show, and, you know, like, obviously I kind of told you how hard I went that first show. And that obviously caused like a huge rift there, and lack of maturity and understanding, definitely on both of our parts. But I mean, it's just like not an understanding and taking some of these things that are happening because of your pursuit of bodybuilding as like a personal implication. Like, you know, he's spending so much time doing this and this and this, and it's like they take it from a personal aspect. So that's definitely a maturity thing. And you need to take someone that like understands what your goals are and is supportive towards those, and doesn't make you feel any like guilt or shame about wanting to pursue what you want to pursue. Right. Yeah.
Nico Ebine says, dang, I got so many questions I want to ask, but can't choose one. Sib Gat asks your view on Greg Doucette.
Yeah, I mean, I might have a different answer on the, like, look, I definitely see some people's negative opinions on the style of content. Like, you know, he might come off negative at times, or he's very clickbaity or stuff like that. He does ruffle a lot of feathers. But I have a very different relationship with Greg from a personal level, and that Greg's actually the coach that turned me pro. So I worked with Greg in 2013, 2014. You know, and that was like the year I turned pro and had some really good showings. And Greg always did really good by me. I mean, he was a good coach. He was very attentive. Obviously, this was before the Greg Doucette of today. There was like, wasn't YouTube era Greg Doucette. But like when I see Greg in person, he's always great to me. I mean, you know, he's always been good. And, you know, even though he's probably said some things about me on YouTube videos to get views that at the time upset me, I do know Greg well enough to know that nothing Greg ever says is personal. Like there's absolutely no personal animosity in anything he ever says on his social media. And I can tell you that Greg does not attach any emotion to a lot of these things. Maybe I don't watch all his content, but maybe there is some that have become personal feuds. But a lot of these things are just, he is a content creator. He's a content creator. He knows what gets the views and what engages his fans and following. And sometimes that ruffles some feathers. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest pitfall people can do is think that these things are personal to them and just like let it fucking slide off your back. It's like, it's just a dude making content. Who fucking cares, But
yeah, just think of him as one of your favorite streamers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Dylan Damagi asks, maintaining/regaining fertility on PEDs. And it's in all caps with 3 exclamation marks.
Yeah. I mean, look, everyone's journey with this is very different. I know guys that have had fucking 15 kids being on a fucking full Olympia cycle. And it's like, some guys are completely unaffected. I'm assuming based off of like the phrasing of this question, fertility has been affected. It's one of those things that you really kind of need to go through. Cause like in my journey through this, I've talked to so many people that have had such a wide variety of experiences with this. Like I can tell you for the most part, from a male perspective, it's generally not hopeless. Especially if you look at the IVF route as being a possibility. I think for most guys, unless there's like something really, really significant underlying going on there, where there's been actual damage or trauma to your nuts or something, where it's just like they're not working. But I've seen guys that have had a 0 sperm count get it back in 3 months to be in the high millions. I've seen guys that it's taken years. It's really a kind of a different process for everyone. From a protocol standpoint, I definitely think that HCG, 2,000 IUs up to 3,000 IUs 3 times a week, HCG or HMG or FSH 75 units on the opposing days, 3 days a week. And then, from a health supplement standpoint, you can get pretty fucking far. I actually think I have my protocol here. I just saw it today. Where was it? So I had like ubiquinol, CoQ10, injectable L-carnitine, vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, selenium, folic acid, vitamin D3, omega-3, N-acetylcysteine, ashwagandha was like my supplement protocol that I had kind of like all fucking like this, like organized in a fucking table that I would take. And then I did injectable glutathione as well. So those, and that's, when I started doing that with my FSH and my HCG, that's when I started to really get some traction on my numbers and things to go. So, I just would think for most people, like, just don't lose hope in the process and be patient with it. And that, look, you can talk to other people and you can get maybe some clarity, but everyone's process is so different and like how quickly their body rebounds or not. Some guys never lose fertility. Some guys get it back in a week. Some guys take 10 years. Well, probably not 10 years, but, take some time. Like for me, it took 2.5, 3 years to just get to like a semi-decent spot. So, just don't lose hope in it and trust the process,
Fire.
Yeah.
You never know. It always happens whenever you don't expect it.
Yeah. And I've also heard tons of stories of guys that like their fucking sperm count was in the shitter. They do IVF, they have 1 kid, and then they kind of like abandon that fertility journey. And then they're just fucking naturally conceived like a year later. It happens all the time, dude. It's like they're fucking pop one out with IVF. They go through this whole fucking rigmarole and it's a hard process. And it's mentally and physically taxing. And then like a year later, after they have their first kid, they naturally get pregnant. They're like, what the fuck? Like we tried for 10 years for this, It happens all the time, man. Especially for a woman too. Like after they've had 1 kid, I think their body's like a little more receptive to the idea of fertility. So I think sometimes people get away with lower sperm counts too, at getting a girl pregnant on their second time having a kid,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ricardo Tessalin asks, most changes when you started working with Patrick?
Like what were the biggest changes? I don't know. I mean, with Patrick, it was kind of like a feeling out process that took some time, like initially when we started working together, I'd say that probably the most initial things were a little more, particularly with like my sodium intake and controlling some variables that I wasn't necessarily controlling at a high level before. But for me with him, it was really like getting a few shows under our belt and like some time together. And we really just like kind of, he was very good at like learning how my body operates, and he learned it very quickly. Like we did a show together the first year. And I did the Tampa Pro where I lost Hunter. I looked terrible. Like we fucking absolutely fucked the dog, but he learned so quickly. Like, this is where your look was good. This is where it went wrong. I know what to fix. Next time it'll be better. I promise. And he delivered. And then, that obviously built a very high level of trust for me and him, that he kind of was paying attention to the details and kind of, looking back at the data and kind of figuring where things went awry, and implemented that very quickly. But yeah, I mean, like there was nothing, out of the ordinary in what we were doing in any way. It was just like a good coach that was paying attention to the details and the data that we had accrued from the more time we spent together. And, it's how he operated with me versus other guys I know was different. It's, every athlete is different from a personal relationship standpoint, what you kind of need to get the most out of them. And also from like a physical standpoint of the kind of diet and training and fucking whatever that you need to make them perform the best. Right. So, and it was definitely just a process that we figured out. And once we kind of got that process figured out, we really honestly hit the mark every single time after that. After the 2020 New York Pro, once I hit it that time, I don't think we didn't miss really at all. Like you could say the 2022 Olympia, my last show, but even then it wasn't actually, the peak wasn't that big of a miss. It was a small miss, but still I was actually pretty good. I just got in my head a little bit and I did some like other dumb shit from like posing and like, my nerves took control of me there. And I think that cortisol and the nerves kind of were more of the culprit in that whole equation than anything Patrick ever did was. But I mean, all the shows in 2021 when I was like Tampa, Texas, Arnold, Olympia, 2020, Olympia, New York, like, Vancouver 22, like all these, like we had a slew of like 10 shows where we were like 99% or 100% every single show, but that just took a couple shows to like figure it out, and you got the process and we fucking nailed it,
Yeah. Dude, I love working with Patrick, man. Favorite so far.
Patrick's the best
for sure.
He just has like such like fucking dad vibes to him that like, just like is such like a comforting thing, like it just makes you feel like he's very passionate. He always has your best interest at heart. And like the guy will fucking go to war for you for sure. Like he's so passionate about it, the people he works with and about bodybuilding as a whole. It's like you can feel that like, and it makes you want to
please
perform. It makes you want to please him. Yeah, 100%. It's like this fucking daddy issues of like, it's like I want to make daddy happy, like it's fucking like because he's so invested in it mentally, like he's always fucking on the ball. Like, even if I had shows where like in his time zone, it was like the fucking, he'd have to be up all night to help me. Like it was never like, he was never missing for a second. Like when I needed him, he was always on the ball. I know, even if I didn't agree with the decision, I trusted that the intention behind it, that he knew what he was doing, and he never really led me astray. So, I think he's great. Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I hate though is I just had to tone down the festivals like significantly in the last year while I was working with him. It just fucking sucks so much. Yeah, it's like that's my one outlet, man. Even if I don't do anything, even if I just
I'm sure he didn't love that.
Some streams.
No.
He'd always be asking me what a question
like
like
cheat meals. He doesn't like cheat meals, let alone fucking partying.
That's the problem too. Is like I don't even party. I don't ever go to bars. I don't go to clubs. I don't party. But I
just
like
the festivals.
Like even if it's just like a metal festival, an EDM festival, whatever it is. Yeah. That's what my homies go to. You know what I mean? So that's how I blow off steam. Even if it's like a little microdose of shrooms, smashing the energy drink, a little bit of weed at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's like going out and doing that immediately. The perception is this guy is railing ecstasy. Railing ecstasy. I'm like, well, fuck, man. Like I fucking got my pro card going to a festival, and Kyle was chilling me going to festivals because they got me shredded every time. Got me so fucking shredded, but. Yeah,
I'm sure it did. Yeah.
Patrick, please. There's a lot of questions. I don't think we'll have. Fuck. Shit. One of the questions was, what was the biggest things you learned from coaching Chris to Olympia? You say.
Yeah, I mean, look. Obviously, there's so much I learned over the time. I mean, like. When I started coaching Chris, like in the journey, like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. You know what I mean? Like I was young. I mean, I started coaching when I was 22 years old. And I was really kind of figuring a lot of this out as we went. The lessons I learned from Chris were more like lessons I actually learned from Chris, not like lessons I learned from coaching Chris, you know, like, and seeing Chris in the position of like where he was as, you know, at the very top of the sport, being the most famous guy in the industry, you know, being a multiple time Olympia champion, like kind of how he conducted himself, you know, from like a standpoint, you know, with social media and like kind of tuning out the noise, like things that I felt like I was like super weak at the time. You know, I was the guy that was like on social media, someone would say some one bad thing about me, I'd be in the comments fighting them for fucking 6 days, you know, versus like I knew that he had like Chris was still obviously very well perceived as a whole, but you know, when you have 25 million followers, even if 1% of that is negative, that's a fuckload of shit, you know? So, you know, and he was just very good at like not really paying attention to the noise and like, you know, focusing on what the variables that he could control was. And I think that was like definitely a lesson that I learned from him more than I learned from coaching him, you know? And I think also a thing too is like, and that I've learned more like being past bodybuilding, and that, you know, Chris really kind of honed in his skills of at the last few years of his career was like being present in like the whole process, you know, like, and I think especially being on the other side of bodybuilding, you look back, you're like, fuck, that happened so fast. And I kind of like wasn't there for a lot of it, you know, like I was there, but I wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, you're just like going through the motions of like the work that needs to be done, but like not actually like soaking in the experiences and like the environment that you've like been so lucky to put yourself in, like these times where I'm like, you know, fucking on the Olympia stage or winning these big pro shows, like all these things that you're, you know, or just like the experiences of like, you know, hang out with the, you know, guys backstage at some of these shows, like just like these experiences that were like so fulfilling at the time that you kind of like rushed through because you were like so focused on something else. You know, I think just like being present in those moments, you know, is something that's so hard to do at the time, but I think is like makes that whole journey a lot more fulfilling on the back end, and definitely something that like if I'm going back into it now is something I'm definitely a lot more mindful of, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Something that because of you guys, literally, I'm becoming more mindful of as I do my preps now.
Yeah,
just making sure that I appreciate it, be more present with the process.
Yeah.
It's definitely like tough at the time, especially if you're so obsessed with like becoming the best. You know,
100% it is. Yeah. No, you have to be conscientious of it for sure. It's not something you can just be like, I'm going to say it and it's just going to happen. You know, like it's not something that you're just, if you're aware of the concept that it's going to happen for you, you know, you need to like actually be mindful of it when you're in those moments to like stop and take a moment and like soak it in, like, you know, be present in it and like enjoy these things and like have the conversations with people. And, you know, if you want to fucking get on stage and fucking cry for a minute or, you know, it's like, it's feeling the good and the bad. It's not just like, it's just like allowing all those things that are happening to like feel it and not just like moving through it, you know? And I think that's like such an important thing that especially I can definitely really relate to, you know, having already gone through a bodybuilding career and being on the other side of it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jay Clary asks, if you had the best version of Iain in today's Olympia, where do you place?
This past Olympia, somewhere in like the 8 to 11 range, probably. You know, I think a best version of Iain could, you know, fight with like a Tonio or these years kind of Brandon Curry's. I think I could still beat like Urs and Jordan Hutchinson that were like kind of 12, 13. What was good Vito was 11. So I think I'd be somewhere in that like, you know, 8, 9, 10, maybe, you know, 8, 9, 10, 11 kind of range, probably around there. Like a good version of Iain would kind of be, you know, if I fucking nailed it, you know, maybe I could be, you know, battling out with those guys in the second call out. I think I'd kind of be somewhere in there. Yeah.
Talon Builds asks, where do you get your secret stash of Camel Crush smokes?
Fucking just any gas station in the US, man. Come on, these aren't hard to get. It's probably a Canadian asking that because in Canada, we don't have any flavored tobacco or nicotine products. So like Zins and shit like that, you can't really buy in Canada. Like menthol cigarettes, flavored cigars, like anything like that. That's not allowed in Canada anymore, kind of like California is. So yeah, I mean, but I go to the US like once a month, but and just like, I'll say this on this podcast, and I don't want to ruin the element of mystique to anyone, but just wanted people to know I don't actually smoke cigarettes. Okay. This is just for your entertainment on social media.
No way.
Look, I will smoke cigarettes, but do I smoke in my daily life? Obviously not. No, of course not. No.
This is crazy. I can't believe you just released that on this podcast. This is life-changing.
Don't clip that. Just leave it for people that get 2 hours and 39 minutes into this podcast get that information, but nobody else.
Oh, fuck.
We'll leave that as like a little Easter egg 3 hours into the podcast. If you made it this far, you earned that information.
All right, easy. Yeah.
No, but it's the whole premise of it is like the fucking not give a fuck retired bodybuilder. That's like the kind of the element of that kind of content of like the smoking and stuff. It's just like the laissez-faire, like bodybuilder fucking in his retirement, not giving a fuck, smoking his cigarettes, like just doing like the taboo bullshit like that. It's just like, it's fun and funny. And I think so many people just need to lighten the fuck up. Like I'll see people comment on, like, ew, cigarettes gross. I'm like, bro, like just lighten up. Like you can just enjoy this for the fucking post that is. And it doesn't need to be so fucking serious, And that's kind of the whole thing with it. It's just like people need to people are so uptight and like so negative about so many things on social media, and they take everything so seriously. And like,
so seriously.
They see one picture of something and they'll fucking go crazy in the comments, and people are just like so like quick to the trigger of like things being as reality now. Like everything they see is reality because there's so much shit on social media now. And like, I think people just need to sometimes just appreciate things for what they are. It's just like, hey, this is just a fucking dude's, like, I'm smoking cigarettes in my fucking Santa costume or in my fucking robe working out in my basement or like, or whatever, while my fucking wife serves me dinner and my fucking, like whatever it is, it's like, it's just fucking funny. Just laugh and move on. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, Yeah.
Meanhead asks, can young bodybuilders make use of bigger cycles early, then chill out once they gain size?
I mean, as we've kind of discussed over this time, I don't think that's the way to do it. I think if I was to recommend the best path forward, I think we should do what I'm trying to do now and what you were talking about, like Jordan Hutchinson made such good progress with, and these guys is just be as slow and progressive as you possibly can and get as much as you can from as little as you can until you kind of reach that point where you're like, okay, I'm fucking big now. And then there will be a point where you can kind of, achieve a good level of physique from a kind of a set standard. Like when I was at my biggest, I kind of was doing the same amount of drugs and cycles all the time. Like it didn't really get more progressive and more progressive. It's like, I kind of found a place where I'm like, okay, I can keep, getting a good response from this. But that obviously will increase as your body gets bigger, so, what I needed to maintain or grow muscle at 290 was obviously different than it was at 220. But I think that the best way to do it is probably the opposite of that. Start low, be progressive, as minimally invasive as possible, and just increase when you need to increase, but under the guise that all the other factors are nailed in as well. Like, don't bother just fucking using your drugs as the only like driving factor for progress. Like, make sure your training is fucking nailed in, your nutrition's nailed in, and when those are all fucking dialed in, then okay, I'm not getting progress. Maybe you can increase the drugs a bit.
Got it. Nice, awesome. Last question from both of our favorite, biggest podcast listener, Yoseba. What was the best and most difficult times of your life?
I mean, most difficult was definitely probably like the end of my bodybuilding career. Like when I was that like last year before retirement, that was fucking hard, man. Like that was a really, really hard period of my life. And, I dragged my ass through that Toronto Pro prep. Fucking like, I swear I was like fucking crying myself to
Trauma Pro?
Toronto Pro. We could call it the Trauma Pro. That might be a fucking more fitting fucking title for it. No, but like seriously, man, that was like a prep where I was like fucking crying myself to bed every night. And I was just like fucking in a brutal place. And I really didn't want to be doing it. And I just really couldn't pinpoint the feelings of like, why do I hate this so much right now? And it frustrated me so much. And I could kind of see the writing on the wall of like, fuck, maybe I need to step away from this shit. And it was like really hard to kind of to deal with like that reality sinking in of like, fuck, this is scary. Like what's on the other side of this? Like, what am I going to do if I'm not bodybuilding? Like, what the fuck, like it was definitely like a really hard time. And I was like, having a really like a lot of really weird feelings that were, took a lot of work to kind of get through. So yeah, I mean, that was definitely the fucking hardest. And then what was it? It was the best times, the other side of that?
Yeah, the best times.
I mean, obviously I've got like I got a different answers to that. Obviously there's like the answers of like fucking getting married and like shit like that, that, are definitely like pinnacle moments of my life. Me and Melissa have obviously lived a lot of life together. I mean, we've been together for over 13 years now. So like, there's been a lot of like changes in our lives and like crazy fucking pinnacle moments that we've had like and lived together. then obviously there's cool moments, like I said, like that Olympia, like ones where we got to do it all together. And there's been some cool, like special moments that like I really appreciate now, even more looking back in retrospect. So yeah, I don't know, something under that spectrum,
Yeah, dude, I would actually really love to ask you about like y'all's some of these pinnacle moments and also some of these toughest moments, as a relationship at some point, for sure. If you ever get the chance to come back on, because
of course, yeah.
I don't know, I think that would be very valuable for not just the audience, but for myself, especially guys like I who have not gotten married and have a long road to go. So
anytime.
Fucking dating these days is fucking crazy, man. So whatever.
I can only imagine, man. Yeah, I'm happy to be out of that.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, man. I have one last question I ask everybody at the end of every podcast, and I've asked you once before, but if you were to disappear from the world tomorrow and you had one message you could send to the entire world today, what would the message be?
I don't know. I mean, like, it's such like a taboo thing to say, but like, I think people need to look at things more with assume good intentions with things. I think people like always just like, especially now we're like in such like a weird, like divisive, negative time, especially like around social media where people are so like, just kind of what I was saying before, like are so hot to jump on the trigger of like negativity and like divisiveness on any topic that there possibly can be. Even if it's like not a divisive topic, people will find a way to like create division and like negativity and chaos within that. And I think people just need to like start reframing their mindset maybe a bit more of like, assuming good intentions and generosity in people instead of like always just jumping to like, you see a comment there, assuming immediately that someone's fucking saying something negative and fucking everyone's attacking everybody in every section of every comment place. And, and I think just like, the more that we bite into this, the more that it creates. And I think the more that we can like come at things from a different framework, the less that will happen,
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really good point. Well, thank you for coming on, bro. That was sick.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, catch up again soon. But are you going to be at the Arnold?
I will. Yep. Okay. Rob just messaged me today, actually asking about Arnold stuff. So,
nice.
So as of today, I have confirmation I will be there. Yeah.
Sick. I'll catch you there, bro.
Yeah. Awesome,
dude. Thanks for coming in again, homie. And if you ever need anything, also just let me know. I'll be just a text away. So